This week on 4K Kings, we'll be discussing the 4K debuts of Roadhouse, Rocky, Carrie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. We'll also be chiming in on the Army of Darkness Halloween box set and Fright Night releases. And we're going to round it all off with our A to Z horror recommendations.
And we are back. Welcome back, Russ.
Hi, Matt.
And welcome back, everybody. Thank you for returning. If you've stumbled upon this channel and you don't know where you are, we are your 4K Kings. I am Matt, and this is Russ, and we cover physical media news, movie reviews, and other things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And hopefully things that you also enjoy. That's why you found yourself here. If you are watching this on YouTube, you could also check this out on Spotify. So you can listen to this while you're on your way to work or picking up the kids or stuck in a traffic jam. You can hear us drone on and on about movies and other things. Quick thank you to everybody that is out there commenting, supporting, leaving us nice messages, DMing us on Instagram, thumbing up, giving all of our videos thumbs up and so forth. Really appreciate all your support and help. And thank you for being a part of this great community.
And if you've forgotten, we also have a contest going on. It's our Subscribe for Drive giveaway. Once we hit 2K subs, we will go back to our original Drive video and pick our favorite comment. And that person will receive a free limited, well, it's not limited anymore.
It's gone.
It is out of print. Second Sight 4K special edition of Drive, the Ryan Gosling vehicle. Get it?
Got it.
So make sure you subscribe and like this video and tell your friends, because one lucky viewer is going to get the release of the year.
That is right. And we're only about 300 away. We're 300 away. We're steady climbing. It's bound to happen anytime soon. So please kind of check back. And like I said, like Russ said, if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider doing so. Last week, we covered a lot of stuff, including Bloodsport, 4K, a bunch of Arrow 4K announcements, Disney going to Criterion, Casablanca. We reviewed Poltergeist, Rambo, First Blood, Lost Boys, and so much more. But now this week, we have quite a slate as well, Russ. Quite a slate. So we're going to be checking out Roadhouse in 4K, Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 4K, both from Vinegar Syndrome. We're going to check out Two. Sorry, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Part 2.
We're going to discuss the Rocky 4K announcements, some Paramount 4K double dips, our favorite thing to talk about. We're also going to review Army of Darkness. We're going to review Fright Night, and we're going to talk about the Halloween 4K box set that Scream Factory's putting out, which is films 6 through 8. We're going to discuss our thoughts on those films as well. Plus, our big recommendation of the week extravaganza, because it's Halloween coming up soon. It's the month of October. We thought we would share our Halloween picks of the week, but instead of just doing one each, we're going to go through A through Z and do a bit of a A through Z challenge like we've seen a couple other people out there do that we thought maybe we should give a try as well. But we're going to shove all of our favorite Halloween films in there instead.
Yes, the viewers, if anything, have been demanding nothing but recommendations from us. It's probably the hottest video, so we decided instead of giving you just one or two, we're going to give you 30.
Yes, and
actually, man, let me get this right. How many letters are there in the alphabet?
There's going to be about 33 letters in the alphabet.
So we're going to give you 33 recommendations.
And I feel like because we're going to give that many more, we're going to get 33 times the views.
Probably.
So I can't wait to share our A through Z recommendations of the week.
It's science.
It's science. It's going to be one of the hottest segments that YouTube is going to have in its entire catalog of billions of videos.
You better ask Jeeves.
So before we get into all that good stuff in the news and everything else, thought we could give a quick update on one of our favorite topics, which is those Tarantino 4Ks, those darn Tarantino 4Ks that won't leave the news cycle. We've talked about them for about 4 weeks now.
They're pretty good.
And as news has kind of trickled out, we've sort of trickled it out as well. And finally, I think everything has sort of been settled and set in stone. So I think now we can finally, with a good conscience, share exactly what is what, with the exception of what the features are on the Pulp Fiction release. So that will be next week. We'll come back and talk about that then. But the Reservoir Dogs art has been confirmed, where the Steelbook is going to be that sliced ear, slide down slipcase. And then they're going to have a regular edition that has sort of this red, white red and white art, which is kind of meh to me. I mean,
It's the Ocean's 11 edition.
you're right. It does. It looks like that instead of Reservoir Dogs, it should say Ocean's 11.
So you get two choices with this. Lionsgate is giving us the Saw edition and the Ocean's 11 standard edition.
You're absolutely right.
Choose wisely.
Choose wisely. And honestly, on this cover, I feel like the characters look blurry. Like they just look blurry. And look, and Mr. Brown looks like he's about to fall over. Like he looks like he's trying to like not fall over.
I feel like Mr. Brown is the focal point as well. I can make him out the best out of any character. And let's be real, who cares about Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I don't know, but who cares about this art? It could have easily been the original art. I really wish it was. Maybe it's on the other side, but doubtful. And they've also shown what their special features are going to be on these releases, which is about what we all probably expected. It does say new 4K restoration, HDR Dolby Vision presentation, but you're talking about some deleted scenes and like 2 featurettes.
So the same stuff we've had on every previous release.
Pretty much. So exactly. So you're not going to get anything else that's of any worth here. But at least the art is confirmed. So now you can go out there and pre-order knowing for sure what you are getting. I'm still
I've heard mixed things
on
man.
the fence still about both. I don't know.
I've seen people defend it and I've seen people against it. Like I said, at least with the steelbook with the ear artwork, like I said, they came out of nowhere with that. Was not expecting it.
Yeah.
So at least they took a chance. I'm with you. I'm not a huge fan of it, but at least it's different. And at least it's ballsy. At least it was a bold take.
And maybe it'll become, once that steelbook goes out of print, maybe it'll become like a collector's item because it is so outrageous.
I'm sure it will.
Who knows? But then also Pulp Fiction has finally gotten its art revealed as well. And again, you kind of have a mixed bag here, but I think there is at least one clear winner. So here's the steelbook, and it's John and Uma dancing on a record, I guess. And
what's with the record?
I have no idea. It looks cheesy as hell.
It's not even bad artwork. It's like, that doesn't even remind me of Pulp. Is there a record in Pulp Fiction?
When she puts on Girl, down,
yeah.
I mean, but you don't see, I mean, that's pretty much it, I guess. But then, and even on the inside, I don't have a picture of it here. Let me see. Yeah. So even on the inside, I think it looks dumb. Let's see if we can get a good, yeah. So on the inside, you got them again, close up with their dancing faces, but on the back, you have the milkshake and the cheeseburger.
Man,
it's just kind of silly.
Was Samuel L. Jackson even in this movie?
No, but this milkshake certainly was.
I mean, I get it. We all $5 milkshake, but
it's just, yeah, it's corny.
Lame.
It's just corny. It really is corny. And then outside of that corny ass deal, you're going to get an option to have basically the regular art, except it's in complete black and white, except for Pulp Fiction, which is in red. And they also put red on her lips and her fingernails, which I don't think this looks bad. I think they're going to have to mess with this. You know, if they're going to say like, we've got to tweak this somehow, at least they did the minimal to not mess with it.
This is the Sin City edition of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it really does. It looks like that. And I'm kind of torn on her lips and nails being not black and white. I like the Pulp Fiction. I think that looks cool, but these little flourishes here, I don't know.
It's not terrible. It's just uninspired. If I were to pick this up, I am definitely going with this over the Steelbook, which is rare.
I agree. Yeah, I would get this over the Steelbook too if I pick this up. But I'm not sure that we will, or that I will. And I know we kind of joked too about what if it had one of those plastic slip down slide cases, and I commented that it would be like really weird if it was like the syringe going into Uma Thurman's chest. But I saw someone did actually do like a mock up, and I did have to laugh. And it's this. Which when I saw that, I actually did a double take because I was like, "Oh my god, is this real?"
And I would buy that.
But it wasn't.
I would buy
it's
that.
fake. It's fake. But I mean, oh my god, that's great.
That's brilliant.
That is pretty funny. Or like somebody else.
I like that better than the official releases we are getting for and Reservoir Dogs. I like that. That's the best. That is the clear winner.
Yeah, that is really funny. And as far as Pulp Fiction is concerned, unlike Reservoir Dogs, we don't know anything about what's coming with it. It's probably just like Reservoir Dogs, even though it's a different company. It's probably all the same old stuff.
I called it, man. No one's coming back for this. Tarantino's not that jazzed on talking about his own stuff within these confines.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know. So again, they're coming from different studios, so you can't expect the art to kind of coincide. It would have been nice if at least they're going to release them all individually. Maybe they all sort of look similar, but you're just going to get a mixed bag with all these different studios putting this stuff out. I'm still holding out for the box set, but
you will never get it.
I won't. But last update, I did pre-order Bloodsport. I got cover B. You said to me last time we were together that you're going to wait for my move, and my move was to get it. I pre-ordered it. That was it. Pre-ordered it, Russ.
I'm not sure still.
Still not sure. I mean, I'm still not sure, but I did.
I think I'm going to pass on it. I'll probably kick myself down the road for it, but I believe I'm going to pass on the Bloodsport.
And you're going to wait, see if someone else puts it out, or you're just going to pass, period?
I don't know. This release, though, this was an immediate day one pre-order.
Yeah, so let's talk about this.
Honestly, if I had more cash flow right now, I would buy Bloodsport, but there's too much stuff coming out.
There's too much stuff.
I got to put Bloodsport on the back burner.
I'm with you, but let's jump into some of the more hotter news stories of the week. And this first one was an immediate purchase, an immediate pre-order. Didn't even think twice. I saw it, and boom, just went right to it. It didn't even check my bank account. I'm probably in the negative now. I apologize to my family because I can't put food on the table because I had to have Roadhouse.
I apologize to your family as well.
And Roadhouse is coming out November 19th from Vinegar Syndrome, which, again, this is a pretty big title for them. You know, this is I think this is a pretty big title. And there's not a whole lot of details that they've shared at the moment. This is coming up for their Black Friday, halfway to Black Friday sale, is where it appeared or when it appeared. But the only details that they did manage to share were that it's coming with an original Vinegar Syndrome 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative. Now, I'm not too familiar with their transfers and their 4K releases and stuff and their own, you know, their house, their studio, whoever they use to do it. Like I was going to ask you, are you familiar? Do you feel like they do a good job? I've never seen any.
I feel like they do a great job, and usually their titles are films that do not have that you watched on VHS, that you watched in grainy, they're B pictures, right, for lack of a better term. So, they do incredible work with those. I can't wait to see what they've done with this.
Okay. Well, it does say that it will have an original making of documentary and some other hard-hitting extras.
They better have that Kevin Smith commentary.
Hard-hitting extras.
Did you ever listen to that?
No. Is it good?
Yeah, it's great. It was only on one of the editions. I think there were like 2 separate previous Blu-ray releases of this.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Kevin Smith commentary was on the DVD. I can't recall, but that commentary is gold.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, I know they go all out to try to put as much on here as they can, and this is a really big title for them, and so I don't think they want to mess this up. And this is actually not just a regular Vinegar Syndrome release. It's one of their Vinegar Syndrome Ultra releases, and which means basically that you're going to get a really high quality magnet clasp box with a booklet inside, plus the movie within the slipcase.
So it's going to be like Miami Connection and New York Ninja.
Well, apparently Miami Connection isn't a Vinegar Syndrome Ultra release. Is that in a magnet clasp box?
I mean, it's like almost clamshell like.
Okay,
it's thick. It's a really thick book.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. I think New York Ninja.
It is, because I was going to say, when I was looking at this, it says that this is its 4th VSU release. Roadhouse is its 4th one. And the other ones were Beastmaster, Cloak and Dagger, and Six String Samurai. Those are the only 3 before to have this kind of a box, which I guess, like I said, it's like a magnet clasp, opens, folds out, and then all the stuff comes out from the inside.
I wish I brought over the New York Ninja to
Yeah,
show
I mean,
you,
I kind of thought the same thing. Like, hadn't they done this before? But I guess not. These are the only ones. But looking at a video of someone unboxing their Beastmaster, because I love Beastmaster and I didn't get it from them, and now it's obviously sold out. But looking at the unboxing, it does look really, really nice. And all I kept thinking was, I really like what companies like Arrow do and, so forth, where it's like a nice thicker box and they have their postcards and all that kind of thing in there. But honestly, if they just gave me a really nice box with a booklet and the movie, I'd be fine. And that's essentially what these are. And I really like that approach.
And that's what I go for as well. I'll take that over any...
Yeah, all the posters and
stuff. As we call them, tchotchkes.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's all I want is a nice uniform box set.
Yeah, and a booklet to discuss the movie, whatever. I think that's a nice touch. But all the extra things, if we could just get to that, I think that would be really cool. And that's what this is. Now, I will say it is rather pricey. So before, it was $65... not at the time of the sale when I bought it, but that's what it was going for. I think it was like half off at the time of the sale.
I think mine came up to like 44 total.
Yeah. So, and eventually they will have a regular edition of this that doesn't have the nice box and everything else. So if you want to save some cash, then you can do that. I mean, let us know, or maybe, I don't know if you had any of those, Russ, let us know down below. Are these really worth that price? Is that quality really that great? It
I
looks
own-
good compared to what.
I own New York Ninja. You said
But
that was
no,
one of the ones.
it's not.
Oh, it's not.
Beastmaster, Cloak and Dagger, Six String Samurai.
Yeah, I thought you said it was. Wow.
It's according to them. This is their fourth one. I don't know if that means anything, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm just saying, every release I've ever picked up from Vinegar Syndrome,
like
any
that?
special edition, it's either like that or it's still incredibly. It's honestly like picture Arrow, but maybe just a little thinner as far as the width goes. But the slip in the box, it has that smooth finish, even more so than Arrow.
Nice.
Like they put a lot of care into their releases, and I'm happy to see Vinegar Syndrome get some high profile titles like this and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah, yep.
Which, I mean, they have to be the two biggest titles Vinegar Syndrome has.
I mean, I was going to say to you the same thing. I was thinking to myself when I saw this, like, wow, just recently I've seen them putting out movies that I know the names of for once. But to see this, I'm like, kind of going back to the argument that you've made before about things that Criterion puts out. It's like, at some point they need to make money. So let them make money so they can continue on their business. This seems like that to me. Like, this is a title they were able to get because their star is rising a little bit more maybe, and they've got more cash flow, but that's only going to help them finance other things.
And hey, this is a great title to get. And if you're going to go with a more well-known film, or I guess at this time this was poised to be a blockbuster, I mean, this is the one to go to if you're Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to put out? Twister?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and just to speak on the art for a second, this art reminds me of the Miami Connection art that you have. I think, the likeness of Dalton is great. I think the Roadhouse looks great. But sometimes when you have this kind of like, let's fill out every last inch of it, I feel like sometimes it can come across a little busy. I think he looks good. The rest of them are okay, but in general, I think the art looks cool because mainly my focal point is Patrick anyway.
I like it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. There's obviously, it's got more of that cartoonish style, kind of like I said, like Miami
And
Connection.
I guarantee you'll have the original artwork on the inside.
Probably, yeah, probably. And when this was announced again, I saw people talking about this when Bloodsport 4K was first mentioned that, Vinegar Syndrome's going to pick this up. And as soon as I saw this announced, even in this forum, it was like, Bloodsport's got to be next. So I don't know. Maybe that's the one to hold out for.
That I will. Hopefully that does happen. I'm with all the people.
Please.
Maybe give me Vinegar Syndrome. Give me a Bloodsport release, say around March or April when my bank account is recuperated.
And that would make sense because I bought the other one, so they're bound to put one out too.
Didn't they release Amityville as well? The original Amityville?
Recently, yeah.
I was about to say, I pre-ordered it. I couldn't recall if it was Vinegar Syndrome I ordered it from. But yeah, even that's a big title for them, I feel like. The original Amityville. They had put out some of the subpar, like further down the line sequels. But yeah, dude, they're coming up in the world, and I love it.
Yeah, no, good for them. The one that I own was the Shout Select Collector's Edition, and this was number 4. The 4th Shout Select was Roadhouse, and this one was actually really cool because it was at the time it was a 2K scan. I thought it looked really good. I think I've seen some other people say otherwise online, but who cares? I do think it looks pretty good. And there was actually a lot of new stuff for a Shout Select. Usually there's not too much on here, but there was 5 new featurettes, not even just interviews, like making ofs and all kinds of stuff that was put on here. And it's got the original classy sort of art. Same thing, Patrick, same thing
That's
as
not
that.
the original.
Well,
it's like a variation.
The original pose.
But
It's the same pose as this Roadhouse one here from Vinegar Syndrome. See him? It's kind of like the same thing.
in the original cover, you could see his feet and all that. Wasn't it like
Maybe.
an actual panned out?
You're
of him
right. Yeah,
leaning
you can
up
see
against
you can see his boots a little bit more.
Yeah,
Got to see them
we gotta
boots.
show Swayze in full body mode
Yeah, got to show the boots. But
before he got ghosted.
regardless of owning that, I pre-ordered this instantly. It didn't. It was like 4K Roadhouse. Yes.
Same.
Yes.
You can't go wrong with Roadhouse.
No. And I wonder now too. Now that this is in 4K, does that open the floodgates for other studios to try to do the same? Are we going to see another company do this, or are we like even the studio themselves, or is this it for Roadhouse? I guess we'll see what happens. I guess we'll see.
See if we get Roadhouse 2.
Maybe. But also, like you mentioned, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is coming out for Vinegar Syndrome also. And this is coming out October 25th. So it's like right around the corner. And this is another highly sought after 4K release coming from them. Like you said, they're really catching a lot of really cool titles. 4K Blu-ray set, newly scanned, restored from the 4K, or newly scanned and restored in 4K from the 35 millimeter camera negative. And this one was also previously released from Scream Factory in a collector's edition, as well as Arrow in the UK. But this one, again, just looks to be like phenomenal.
And what's so strange, I own the Scream Factory collector's edition. I believe this is the first title I've noticed getting a 4K upgrade from a different studio from them.
Yeah.
Because that's all they've been really focusing on anymore is 4K releases. I mean, it's been The Funhouse, Return of the Living Dead. They're going through all their back titles, and this is a big back title for them. I guess they lost the rights.
Yeah, I wonder, and that was my first thought too. So Arrow obviously has it in the UK. I wonder if they're going to put a 4K out. Has or Scream Factory, have they completely lost the ability to put that? Yeah, so now they're putting it out.
That's a title. I mean, they know that's a big title for them.
And
that's like one of the most sought after slip cases for the original collector's edition they put out. I mean, that was a good one from them.
Well, I'll say in this instance that for fans of this movie, that it's probably a good thing that this company's putting it out and not Shout or not Scream, which is kind of sad to say because Scream is such a great company. But like you said, they're putting out their whole back catalog, but giving you nothing new at all, just a transfer. This here is packed with stuff, like new stuff, old stuff. It's insane what you're getting here. So in terms of like those that need to double dip on something, at least you're getting something for your money, which is pretty awesome. Hours, I'm talking hours of previous features, interviews, documentaries, and now there's new stuff, including a commentary from a film critic, interview from Tom Savini, interview with 4 actors from the movie, an actress of the movie, interviews with the special effects team, all kinds of just new stuff. Plus, like I said, all the previous things are there. This cover art is badass. Like, there's a really cool cover art. Hopper's on the back. He looks cool as shit with these 2 chainsaws. I mean, all this looks really, really cool. And not to mention, but you'll get the iconic slip underneath, or the iconic cover underneath when you take it outside of the outer hard box. So you'll get this. So you're not going to lose this either. And here's the back, which also looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful set. Same thing as what we just said with Roadhouse. I pre-ordered this immediately. Well, I've been waiting for this. They announced this, in April of this year, I want to say. I mean, we knew this was coming. I guess they were just holding out for Halloween. I love it. So happy. This is gearing up to be a top 5 release of the year as well. Yeah,
and it looks beautiful. It looks like the quality of the box looks great, and you can get a regular edition of this too. So you don't have to get the one with the the Dennis Hopper outer box. You can just get a regular edition with the original art on it as well. There's only 10,000 copies of the limited one, which sounds like a lot, but I mean, this is a big title and a lot of people are interested in this movie. So
it's a classic.
It's a classic.
Classic sequel. Classic horror sequel.
Definitely. And I love companies. I love Vinegar Syndrome, and I like Severin. They just have never put out anything that
you're gonna love. You're gonna love that Roadhouse.
I mean, that's the thing. Right? Like, there's things that I don't even know what they are, and that's cool. But I love what they do. It's just not a company I've ever really bought from. So I'm excited to see what I get from them.
I should have shown you my that Censor release that I got. I don't think they put it out specifically, but they put out a slipcase version. And I should have brought that over just to show you what I'm talking about. It's really cool. They do great work.
Yeah.
Highly recommended to anyone who's watching who has never taken the plunge. Pick up some Vinegar Syndrome releases. You won't regret it.
Okay. So then moving on to some other Blu news. The first thing, which isn't very shocking, but it's now finally here they come, is that Rocky has been announced to come out in 4K, and they've been announced to come out February 14th of 2023. And so far, you've got Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and now Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 have been announced as well. First, it was just Rocky 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 were leaked out a week later. So far, that the first 4 are coming out. Only announcements at the moment. There really isn't any other information. And I don't know about... It obviously leads you to believe that a box set is definitely inevitable, but I don't know if the same company owns all the Creed films and as it goes. So I don't know if that's even possible to get a full box set, but personally it feels like that's what you should wait for if you're a fan of Rocky at all.
I think are they going to keep going with the Creed movies as well?
I don't know
if it's completed.
I don't know, but
it would be hilarious if they just don't release 5. You said that wasn't announced. Just release 1, 2, 3, 4, Balboa, the Creed movie, no 5.
No 5. Well, you know how Sylvester Stallone...
Answer the call, that shit. Just put a digital code for 5.
5 gets awesome. The digital code. Well, you know how Stallone redid 4? He
I was about to say,
re-edited
is
it?
that
I don't
be
know.
available? I'm interested in watching that. I never did watch it, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, it should be.
I'd imagine. I mean, that just debuted last year.
I just wonder which one you're going to get. Like in the solo release, are you just going to get the original 4 box set? You get both 4s. It's like Godfather.
I was about to say Rocky 4 is now like Godfather
Coda.
3. It's like Rocky 4 Coda.
Rocky 4 Coda. Yeah, I know. It's like, I don't know. And if they have no intention of putting a box set out, fine. But it's kind of this weird reversal now where whatever happened to putting the box set out first and then just, sending out the solos, now it's like they're trying to get more money. They figured it out.
Yeah.
I wish they hadn't.
Wait, it's always been like that.
No, I mean, even
it?
Indiana Jones we just did. They didn't put the singles out before. They put the box set out first. There's a lot of box sets that used to come out first and then singles came out after.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I never thought about that.
Yeah. And this is, again, Warner Brothers. So I don't know if this is timing with any anniversary, but Warner Brothers, who just put out like Poltergeist and Lost Boys and did jack shit, this will probably be the same. You'll just get the movie upgraded. Probably.
The original Rocky's 76.
Okay, so we're not.
Anniversary.
There's no anniversary. It's the anniversary of needing more money. That's what they're like. Oh, time to get more money. Time to print money again. I honestly don't think I would wait for a Rocky box set. I'd probably just buy one personally.
I'd buy one, but that artwork sucks.
If this is it does say artwork not final.
Okay.
It says artwork
I'm
not final.
Picking that up.
I think this is the artwork they use on online for streaming or something.
Okay. I was about to say that is horrendous.
Yeah.
I'm not picking that up.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I'm not individually buying all the sequels. I mean, let's face it, the sequels objectively aren't good.
What would you buy? You'd buy one. Would you buy any of the sequels at all?
As solo releases?
Would you buy 2?
No. As solo releases, no. But for reference, I own the box set on Blu-ray of Rocky through Rocky Balboa. So I am a fan of the sequels. I grew up on them. I mean, they're classics in their own right for what they are, but they are lesser than the original by far. Not worth solo pickups in my mind. But a cheap box set, yeah, I'd get the whole set.
Okay. Well, Stallone, he's back selling these. He needs to get more money.
And I'm telling you, give me good artwork for the original, and that's a day one for me.
Will the Cobra figure be a day one for you?
I'm not a fan of Cobra. I'm not.
Look at this figure. Look at this thing. This is I saw this.
That's
and
like My Chemical Cobra with his hair there.
I
dude.
mean, I just had to show this to you because obviously Stallone's got a new item coming out on his store like every other week, and this was the most recent one. He's got like Rambo knives and he's got it all. But
Dude,
this one and it's like interchangeable. Like you can take all kinds of stuff off.
What was that? What is his face?
Dude, you can take his glasses off. You can do all kinds of stuff with him.
What is that hair? I think they
Look at
heard...
those jeans. What do you mean hair? Look at those jeans he's wearing.
Fuck the jeans. Look at his hair. I think they heard your complaints about that First Blood cover. They're like, let's comb that coif down.
Comb her down.
Dude, now he's got the Misfits.
Look at him here posing. He's got his hands on his hips.
He's got mom jeans on.
That's what I said. What the hell?
This movie irks me.
What about the figure?
The action figure is better than the movie.
Dude, I know. I want this
I'd rather
thing. Look at this fucking
this
thing.
action figure than watch the movie.
All right, well, let's move on. If it's even possible.
Do you know why this movie exists, though?
Yeah, wasn't it like supposed to be?
He was cast as in Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, right.
And of course,
his
Stallone
ideas
was like rewriting the whole damn movie. He's like, no, we're going to change his name to Cobra instead of Axel Foley.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so basically, he just took all of his ideas
Made his own
and
movie.
left that movie and did this.
This piece of shit.
Yeah, compare this to Beverly Hills Cop. Like, dude, you were trying to rework a great script, a great premise. I mean, thank God he did it, because you could imagine Beverly Hills Cop with Stallone.
No, not at all. Not at all. But another company this week that just made a lot of different announcements is, of course, Scream Factory, and they're doing a bunch of titles again that they've already kind of put out before. And so one of them, you had Black Christmas that they announced, which is a redone collector's edition of theirs.
The original Black Christmas.
The original Black
great
Christmas.
one. Yes.
Yep. Then you had War Games that's coming out in 4K from them. Now, I don't know that they had put that out before, so that might be something new for them. And then the Coraline is coming out. That's Shout, not Scream, but Coraline's being put out in 4K, and Paranorman, which is another one of those Leica titles that they had just put out last year in like an updated Blu-ray. Now it's in 4K, so for all you fans of those films, get ready to double dip on that. But the biggest title that they announced, I think, and Russ agree with me or not, I don't know, is Carrie. I guess, is this the biggest title for them in this announcement? arguably.
For me, yeah, it's this and Black Christmas. For
And Black
sure.
Christmas. And this is coming out December 13th in a 3-disc collector's edition from Scream Factory, which is Carrie. And they've put this out before, and I don't think, again, they're doing anything different for it. The only thing that's different that I will say, which I think is kind of cool, is that they're giving it the original art. And there have been no prior releases of this film that use the original art. Not on any studio, any company has ever used the original art. So it's kind of cool to see it back.
It is. And actually, that's what I know. I just realized this the other day because I picked up the Funhouse 4K. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I was rearranging my shelf. I like that they're doing the original artwork because all those Blu-ray special editions with the slipcovers that I bought over the years with the alternate artwork, and a lot of it is really good. Scream Factory, in my opinion, for the most part, did really good alternative original artwork.
Yeah.
But I like how, to me, those still have value now as a collector, since the 4K isn't just an exact replica of what I have with a 4K disc.
Right.
Kind of like think what Arrow did with RoboCop and American Werewolf in London, where it's the same release.
Yeah, over and over. Yeah.
I like how this looks different on my shelf. It's as a collector, I like that. And as you pointed out, I'm a fan of the original art. I'm nostalgic. I grew up on these movies.
Yep.
So that's an added bonus as well.
Yeah, and I think this looks really good. And Shout is going all out like they do for some of their titles, where you're going to be able to get a regular edition with the regular original art. You're going to be able to get a steelbook edition with new art. And this is the same kind of concept that they have at some of their others, where you're getting a poster. Now, the original art's going to get that 18 by 24 poster, but this one is going to be that, longer horizontal poster, kind of like the Army of Darkness, where it is basically this art, but when you open up the whole case, that's what the art is. And then you're also going to be able to get, obviously, the whole thing with pins. Each one of these individual, whether it's the regular or the steel, they can each come with pins too. Or you can get a bundle with everything, all posters, all pins, all releases, for this $130.98.
There hasn't been a title yet that's made me want to take that plunge
and get all this stuff. I know.
And I love Carrie. It's a great movie, but
Yeah.
I can't spend $130 for some pins.
Yeah, like with a bucket of blood. You mean, with that bucket of blood?
And I can get that on my own.
And one other thing that I wasn't aware of is actually Arrow put this out in 2017 on Blu as well, and they used a 4K scan to put that Blu-ray out. But Scream Factory here is giving a brand new 2022 4K scan for their release. So it's not what Arrow had already done, just on a new disc. This is a whole new scan. And I saw a couple people commenting in the like the section below of this release on their website, asking what does that mean? Are certain things cleaned up? And they said yes. We went back in and we cleaned a couple of things up. And there were some people that were saying, oh yeah, because of that last one, there was some dirt on this shot and dirt, whatever. So maybe Scream Factory is going to give us a little bit of a better upgrade in general. I guess we'll see.
Nice.
But will Arrow put this out in 4K? Who knows?
You're really worried about the European Arrow market.
I mean, dude, people, they don't care. We buy over there, they buy over here. It's all interchangeable. So it's like, you got to keep those options open, because it could be better packaging. It could be different features. It could be a better transfer. And who the hell wants to buy both? I know there's a lot of people out there that sweat on that and like have to buy everything, and not me. I just want to buy the best one. I just don't want the best one to come out after I buy this one.
And there is a lot of releases, especially horror, like Candyman had that, where Arrow released it in the UK. Carrie. What else were we just talking about?
Like Candyman, the Army of Darkness, like they did for the Fog. I mean, they're doing them all.
Yeah. That's true, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing them all.
That point went nowhere, Matt. I apologize.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. But just the last point on this is another Brian De Palma 4K, which is like the third one in this last year. I mean, they're really pumping his stuff out.
What was it? It's Blowout.
This,
Carrie.
yep.
What am I forgetting?
The Untouchables.
Oh yeah, I forgot Untouchables.
Don't forget about the Untouchables. Don't forget about Dress to Kill.
Oh yeah, Dress to Kill.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't come out yet.
It hasn't come out.
I pre-ordered it.
Okay. I mean, they just keep getting announced. I mean, they're putting this guy's whole catalog out. Good for them.
I know. When's Scream going to do Phantom of the Paradise?
Phantom of the Paradise.
They already put out a collector's edition on Blu-ray. We need that in 4K.
Is that what we need?
I need that next to my Scarface.
Well, so outside of these Scream Factory releases, I wanted to touch briefly on Paramount, our favorite company. and what they're doing.
I don't know where you're going with this, but I am not enthusiastic after my 48 hours fiasco.
Yeah, that's kind of a little bit what I want to talk about. And that's, as we've previously discussed, predicted, warned, whatever you want to call it, they continue to re-release 4K titles that were just out on Blu, sometimes within a year of them putting those out.
If you tell me Mommy Dearest, I'm going to walk out.
Not yet. But I feel like a frequent talking point that I've maybe even heard you say, but I know I see this a lot, is like, oh, well, what they're trying to do is just float out the Blu-ray, see if there's interest, and then they're going to put the 4K out or whatever. But I feel like, can that trend die already? Because I think at some point, including me right now it's to the point where I'm not going to buy anything because I'm just going to wait for the 4K to come out.
Same.
So that strategy has now backfired, if that's the strategy.
Same.
You know?
That was not, I've heard that opinion as well, but I do not share it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just it's a way to just.
We're too far into the 4K.
We are. We're way
right
too far.
now.
We're way
don't
too far.
debut a Blu-ray. That format's been around for like 15 years.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Especially an anniversary edition Blu-ray. Like, what? That sucks at this point. Like, stop it. And like you said, one of the first ones of this past couple of weeks that I saw was 48 hours and another 48 hours. Not only can you get them in individuals, but you can get them in a 2-pack. Both of these were released on that really cool Paramount Presents label, which I thought at the time was a way to showcase Blu-rays that were never going to get 4K because there is no interest. Now they're like, hey, there was a little bit of interest. Let's just get them with the 4K next. Because even if you look at these, they've got the stuff that came on the Paramount Presents. You've got the same filmmaker focus. It says new. It's not new. It was new when Paramount Presents put this out. That's when it was new. Now,
it still is new. It came out last year.
Right. It's new enough. It's fairly new.
This is the new.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like they're definitely full blown out there just re-releasing things now in 4K, even though they're putting them out in their little boutique label of their own, which why even have that at this point?
You know what's funnier too? Even the updated art and the slips suck compared to what they were doing on the Paramount Presents Blu-ray line.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I even prefer those slips.
It's true. And then another one, which I think is even funnier, kind of, is Wayne's World, right? So we talked about Wayne's World, and they put out a 30th anniversary Steelbook edition Blu-ray, and we laughed about it and whatever else. And just like 48 hours before it, they are obviously doing the same thing here. They're putting out a 4K in a regular edition. This is coming out November 15th, as predicted. Now, this comes with a 4K and a digital code only, but they're going to do you one more solid, and they're going to put it out in the exact same Steelbook that the Blu-ray was in. So if you got the Blu-ray steel, now you can get it again, but this time there's a 4K disc inside. It's like, fuck you.
What was the company that put out I Spit on Your Grave? You remember? I just love that program they did because they did the same thing. It's like, we're going to basically giving you the same exact set in 4K a couple months later after everyone purchased the original on Blu. But they did that program where you could, for what was it, $10 extra
buy the disc
or something.
instead.
Yeah, they'll just ship you the disc because it's the same packaging. That was I like that. If a company does that, I don't mind because that at least justifies that, that justifies that approach.
I agree.
Of gauging interest through Blu-rays. But this is fucking stupid.
It is. And a company like that who is super small and is doing that for their customers, and Paramount, who's got all the money in the world, they're trying to like get every penny out of us, and that's fucked up.
Absolutely.
And, so same thing. So you've got the same exact disc, just in the same, basically steel, plus a regular one if you want it. I still hadn't bought any. I wouldn't mind owning Wayne's World, and I was expecting and waiting for the 4K anyway, so now good for me. But I just think this practice is really shitty. And now I guess you can just pretty much count down the days for the rest of these anniversary steals and the rest of their whole Paramount Presents line to be released in 4K instead.
And you know what's funny? Wayne's World for me is a movie that's right on the border of would I buy it or would I not?
Yeah.
As you just said, now that the experience is soured, I'm not going to probably pick it up at all. But if you didn't do any of that, and I was just, my initial feeling was, wow, Wayne's World's coming out in 4K. Like, I haven't seen it in a while. I probably would have picked it up. But now I'm just...
Yeah, now you're whatever.
Pass.
Right. Nope, exactly. And the last thing that they did, or last thing that they announced this week, which I'm not going to shit on them too badly, it is a re-release, so it smells like it would be the same, but it's actually a little bit of an upgrade, and that's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So they just put this out in a steelbook last year on Blu. It wasn't any like anniversary thing, but they did. Now they're putting it out in 4K, which again, it's not even a year later and they're doing this. So again, it smells like shit. But at least this time, in the archives of John Hughes, they found some hour and 15 minutes worth of deleted and extended scenes, and they're sticking all of those on an extra Blu that goes with this.
Oh, wow.
So at least there's something here which is maybe worth picking up. I mean, that's a lot of footage. It's like a whole new movie.
And this is a title, since it's so closely associated with the holidays, I expect this getting re-released damn near every year.
Right.
It's not even the same thing with Home Alone, another John Hughes film, where I expect this to double dip, triple dip, quadruple dip. It doesn't really offend me.
Yeah.
But that is cool, because I know a lot of John Hughes
yeah.
stuff is hard to find. I remember when Criterion put out Breakfast Club, that was a big deal of all those extended and deleted scenes that they acquired for that.
Yeah, and all that stuff's here too. Like what it was here before, documentary on John Hughes and the movie itself, some other extended scenes that were already there, or like a little documentary about making the movie. But now you've got a whole disc just with extra stuff. They call it the Lost Luggage Blu-ray. It's kind of cute. So at least there's something new for people that bought it before, or people that never bought it. Now is more of an incentive to buy, which I've never owned this movie, and maybe this is obviously if I were to buy something, I would get this one. And the art,
blow your mind.
And the art's passable.
I'm gonna blow your mind. I've never seen it.
Never even seen it.
No.
I liked it.
I don't know how I missed it, dude. I mean, growing up, I watched everything that Steve Martin and John Candy and that John Hughes did. Somehow, I always missed this movie.
I mean, I missed it because it's rated R, and my parents wouldn't because of the language and stuff. And I think my parents were like, "Okay, this is one that he probably shouldn't watch." And I don't think I ever came back to it.
Isn't there only like one scene where like that's the joke? Is that Steve Martin just keeps saying "fuck" over and
drops
over
the
again?
F-bomb over and over? I don't know. I feel like there's more to it than that, perhaps. But even that scene alone, I guess, is probably enough. But anyway, the last release that I wanted to look at, and every once in a while I stumble upon something that's a little silly. I thought I wanted to share the silliness I found this week, Russ.
Oh, Paramount presents.
And that is for all you Burt Reynolds fans out there, The Box of Burt. Now, I don't know if you're a Burt Reynolds fan, Russ, but this box set itself, it's not just like, hey, let's get all of Burt Reynolds movies and like throw them in a package for people that love it. Like they are really like winking at you here. There is a picture of Burt Reynolds naked, laying down on top of a box of Burt, and on it says, "The Man, the Myth, the Mustache." Like, I have no intention of buying this whatsoever, but like, wow, like what a box set. Like, look at this thing.
This is an insult to Norm Macdonald.
Well, well, it's, I don't think other than when I don't know anything about Burt Reynolds other than when he played Turd Ferguson. I loved him as that character. But I just think they're really leaning into all this stuff. And even the movies that are in here, they're at least movies I recognize. I don't know why this picture isn't coming up, but Cannonball Run 2, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Stroker Ace, and The Man Who Loved Women. Both on Blu for the first time. Now, are you ready to know what comes in this box, Ross?
I know you're going to tell me a fake mustache.
Are you ready?
Feel it.
Are you ready? This box set comes with Musky Sexy Burt Air Freshener, a Honk If You Love Burt bumper sticker, 5 ad cards, 2 posters, and the Book of Burt booklet. I don't know if you can see. There's also like a sticker of Burt naked here. Like, this is just outrageous.
You know what I think happened here?
What happened here?
I think they were trying to put this out for many years, but Burt Reynolds vehemently opposed it.
Because they didn't want to see his naked body on his box set.
And so they waited to dance on his corpse and put this out after he passed.
Dude, could you imagine hanging up an air freshener of Burt Reynolds' Musky Musk in your car that you got out of your Blu-ray set? I mean, that's just outrageous.
This is too much irony.
There's a lot to do with the car, like the bumper sticker. It is. It's a lot of irony. I wish they would have had a fake mustache. That would have been great.
Dude, I'm still waiting for you to tell me that's coming with this box set.
It's not. It is not. But that is the Blu News of the week. I know there's maybe a couple of other like small announcements. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to discuss.
We didn't talk about it too much, but Black Christmas.
Hit me with it.
Classic. Pick up Black Christmas if you've never seen it.
Never seen it.
Oh, God. Come on. It's the holiday season. It's a dark, mean, ahead of its time slasher.
And it's coming out in a collector's edition from
Collector's edition 4K from Scream Factory.
And what do you think about this release will just be like a updated disc. What's the release like? Is it good in general? Are you picking this up? You're recommending it, but it's
I
no.
own it. Well, dude, I'm broke. There's too many
Okay.
releases coming out.
You keep the blue.
I own the special edition blue, and from what I've seen so far, it's probably going to be the same features and everything transferred over just in 4K now. But I want to own it.
Yeah.
I think if it came down to it, Carrie will probably get my money before Black Christmas, but that's not saying much. They're both classic films.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, well, you heard it here first. Pick up Black Christmas if you've never owned it. If you own it on blue, save your money. Pick up Carrie first. Russ with his recommendations.
Gotta get it out there. I halfway recommend this over Carrie.
I cannot afford to purchase it, but please.
Listen, I'm not buying it, but all of you need to do this.
Buy it for me.
Mark, are you watching?
So now that we've covered all the news, all the notable news for the week, I thought we could maybe talk about some movies, Russ. You want to talk about some movies?
No.
You want to talk about one of our other favorite things, which is movies, and some of the bigger titles that came out this week or are coming out this week?
Yes.
The first one being Army of Darkness. So Army of Darkness is coming out today, actually, or yesterday it came out, October 4th, 4K Ultra HD from Scream Factory in a collector's edition, and with a regular edition and a steel edition. And we'll, talk a little bit about the disc and, what reviews have said a little bit later on in the video. And we're also going to play everyone's new favorite game show, Russ.
What?
We're going to play Is There Grease? So at the end of this video, and after we talk about the disc a little bit, I've got my copy right here, unopened. And we're going to open this up and we're going to look inside and see, is there grease?
You didn't go with the steelbook?
I didn't. I went with the regular.
I'm shocked.
You know why I went with the regular? And I'll tell you why I'm pissed off about it.
Oh.
I went with the regular because I was hoping I was going to get one of those hard slide into the side boxes like Halloween got. That's the whole reason I wanted it. And that's not what you get. I don't know where and when we can find out what gets that box and what doesn't, but that might have changed my mind because I think the steel does look awesome. But I went with this instead. I guess it's not too late to take it back. But
yeah, don't open it.
Well, we're going to
maybe
open it
there's
now.
grease in it and you can return it and get the steelbook.
Let's
Let's just put some grease in it. Dude.
Yeah, we're going to open it to see if there's grease. All right. So anyway, I purchased the regular. You purchased the steelbook.
I did, and it hasn't arrived yet. It was delayed a day.
Delayed. Well, when you get yours, you're going to have to let us know how it is when we do another Army of Darkness update. But just to speak on this movie for a little bit before we get into the disc, this movie, Russ, initially came out and was screened for audiences in 92, but came out in 1993. So it's about 30 years old at this point. We're about 30 years old. So we were around 10 when we saw this, when this came out. And I remember I was so pumped to see this trailer on television because I was already, as you were already, a fan of Evil Dead 2.
I wasn't.
You weren't? Okay.
No.
I don't know you at all.
Speak for yourself.
I clearly don't know you at all. So let me speak for myself. I'd already known Evil Dead 2 for maybe a couple of years at that point. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that a sequel for this movie would be made or that it would be one that would have a trailer on television. So when I saw Bruce Campbell, and it took me a second to realize, like, holy shit, this is that movie. Not like, oh, he's in a new movie. Yeah. It's holy shit, it's that movie tied in. My mind was freaking blown. I saw this in the theater day one. I made my mom take me to go see it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I was with it. So wait, you did not see it?
No, I saw it. My history with Army of Darkness and the Evil Dead franchise, I saw it when I was 10 or 11. I watched it on pay-per-view, and I had never heard of Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 yet. So I just watched Army of Darkness like it was its own original movie.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea it was a sequel.
Gotcha.
Cut to a year later, I'm at a video store, like I said, about 11 years old, maybe 12 at this point. And I saw the cover for Evil Dead. I saw the Stephen King quote on the top of it. I forget what it was exactly, but most horrifying film ever made, whatever.
Yeah.
And I rented it based just on that Stephen King quote. And I took it home, and when I started watching it, I liked Army of Darkness. Let me rewind. I was a big fan. I taped it all pay-per-view. I watched it a bunch of times. When I started Evil Dead, it dawned on me, like, oh my God, that's the dude in Army of Darkness. That's the same character. And then I put it together like, oh shit, there's 1, 2, this is the third installment. So I went backwards.
So it's like you have the exact reverse story of me.
I did, yes.
Yeah, the literal reverse story.
Similar story to what you did. That's what happened with me and Kevin Smith. I saw Clerks very young, like when it came out.
Yeah.
And then when Mallrats debuted, I remember that. Like I saw the trailer, the teaser or whatever on television. And I was like, oh my God, those are the two guys in Clerks. I saw Jay and Silent Bob. I didn't even call him Jay and Silent Bob. I was just like, those are the two guys from Clerks. I got to see that. You know, and,
Yeah, and so this movie was directed by Sam Raimi, who at the time was only known for The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and then Darkman, which is what he did right before this movie. And Army of Darkness was...
Oddly enough, I saw Darkman in the theater.
Did you? Yeah, I did not. I still haven't seen Darkman to this day.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Is it? Yeah, I haven't seen it. And this was originally titled Medieval Dead. This is obviously, as we mentioned, the third in the Evil Dead trilogy. And in this film, Ash is sent back to the Middle Ages and battles the undead in an attempt to return to the present. And it stars the legendary Bruce Campbell. And they give a billing to his damsel in distress, Embeth Davids, who I don't think went on to really do anything
I
else.
didn't know her name.
Yeah, I don't think they go on to do really much else. Now, the movie performed well enough, but it wasn't as critically revered as Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 were. But now that time changed, or now that time has gone on, it's obviously become much more of a cult classic, or just a classic in probably a lot of people's eyes, at least, that enjoy these films. Since this time that this has come out, it's spawned television show, it's spawned video games, comics, and most of the things that it has spawned pretty much sees, I feel like, Bruce Campbell in the iteration of the character from Army of Darkness. Like he's kind of like just continues to lean in on how outrageous the version of this character is from this film.
Oh yeah, Ash from Evil Dead 1 and 2 is gone.
Yeah, basically. He is just this guy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, obviously, what we like, any gripes that we may have, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the making of the movie, too, because there's, it's got a pretty cool history as well. And they, like, prior to making Darkman, they had already, or Sam Raimi and his brother, I guess, had already sort of written a little bit of the script, but they kind of got sidetracked and went off to do Darkman. But originally, when they were doing Evil Dead 2, they wanted there to sort of be this transfer over to the Middle Ages, like more so than what they got, but they didn't have really a budget for it. So they just did that little epilogue at the end where he gets trapped there and then the movie's over. I think they wanted to transition into that a little bit sooner, but the budget just wasn't there. And then after they had done Darkman, they went back and they were like, let's try that idea. Let's see what we can do. Because everybody was kind of on board with, like, if we're going to do a third movie, we can't be back in that cabin. Like, we've got to do something new. And I didn't realize that his brother, is it Ivan Raimi? Ivan Raimi. He kind of came in as
Ted.
more. Is it Ted? No, I think was it having multiple brothers?
Well, I don't know. There's Ted Raimi.
Ted Raimi,
for sure.
I think.
Was it like Bob Tappert was the other producer on it?
Let me see if there's a. There is. Yeah, Bob Tappert was a producer. Ivan Raimi.
You could be right. It's been a while since I really deep dived into the Evil Dead franchise.
Yeah, he's
that's a great thing to say on a podcast about
Ivan Raimi. Yeah, it's just another one of his brothers. He was the one that came in to kind of fill out the characters a little bit more. Sam Raimi credits him with a lot of infusing a lot of the comedy into this film. Is what he did with the script. And when they decided to make this movie, they kind of pitched it to the studio as a standalone sort of but partial remake of Evil Dead 2. And then
that's kind of what Evil Dead 2 is of Evil Dead 1.
Right. And they did the same thing here because they were thinking, like, nobody's going to let us do a sequel to a movie that no one's heard of. But once they got the green light to make this an official sequel, they just were like, okay, we're just going to make this a direct follow-up and tie it in as best we can, even though it can really stand on its own. Kind of like you watched it and you were like, this is just its own movie.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah. So this movie clearly was much more a departure from Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2, not just in budget, but also like scope. Like this one has like big set pieces and, a lot of...
Well, you said the whole setting changed.
Yeah, the whole setting changed. Exactly.
The whole genre changed.
Yeah.
Damn near.
Exactly. There's like fight choreography. There's like all kinds of stuff that have to go into it. And it's got that, like, what's that, like Ray Harryhausen, like, blend of, like, Bruce Campbell's fighting skeletons that aren't really there. So they had to, like, teach him all these moves. And it's just, it's like an interesting shift in the material. And they filmed this movie. They presented it to the studio. It started off with one budget. And then when they kind of balked at the ending a little bit, which we'll talk about later too, because there's two endings to this film, the original ending was seen as a little negative. And in order for the studio to put it out, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, and I think you said Rob Tappert, like one of the producers, had to sort of scrape together $1 million of their own money to refilm and shoot the ending as we know it in the theatrical version. Like they had to go out of their pocket to do it. And the original ending being where Ash like sleeps through after saying the words wrong, he sleeps through and he wakes up and it's like the apocalypse. I can kind of understand why it was shot that way, because I think that makes sense within what has already happened, where he kind of like screws up this stuff.
You know what? It makes sense more in the Evil Dead world than it does if you're going to try and market Army of Darkness as its own movie.
Yes.
That makes more sense for like Evil Dead 2 in particular.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In that vein.
Yeah.
And Army of Darkness, if you're going in unfamiliar, that is a weird ending.
It is.
And it's a weird opening too, honestly, if you're not familiar
It is. And I've seen a lot, and we'll talk about this later too, but I've seen a lot of people that have commented negatively on not getting, the director's cut in 4K because that's their favorite version of this movie. And I got to say, like, the theatrical ending, even though it was changed, is still pretty like badass. And I still think it illustrates what they were trying to illustrate in the first ending, where he messed up the words because he's a bumbling sort of idiot when it came to that stuff, and the evil is back anyway, and like that's it. So, I mean, that still works.
Yeah, and this isn't exactly a film where they're trying to get an artistic message. I shouldn't say an artistic, but it's not a message film. This isn't a film where it's like you change the ending and you totally lost the meaning of the film. You know what I mean? Like, you can do variations of it and keep it in that same genre, the same feel. I'm with you. I don't think it was that.
No,
it's not like you ruined it.
No, nothing was ruined. Nothing was ruined at all. And when it came time to actually put it out, I guess the studio wanted PG-13 at best, and they had gotten like an NC-17 for some additional gore, or something to do with some deadite gore, whatever it is.
Evil Dead 2 had that as well. Like, who watches Evil Dead 2 and thinks this is serious and deserves an NC-17? I mean, come on.
Yeah. So then Raimi edits it down to about an R and still couldn't get it past an R. So what ends up happening is the studio takes it from him, gives it to outside editors. They bring it down from 87 minutes to 81 minutes. And it was still an R anyway. And then that's how it got released ultimately.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel that tug of war when you watch the film between PG-13 and R. There are like, because I even when Ash drops some F-bombs, it kind of stands out to me in Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can totally feel that.
So outside of the history, I would like to talk about why we like this movie so much. And why don't you start? Is there something, what is one thing that you really love about this movie, Russ? What do they get right with this movie?
This is such a... What are you going to say negative about any of the original three Evil Deads?
Well, I know. I mean, sure.
I will say it's my least favorite of all three. I prefer Evil Dead 1 and 2 over Army of Darkness, but I also think that falls more in line with I'm not a big fan of medieval settings in general.
Just in general.
You know me. I'm not big on Lord of the Rings. I've never watched Game of Thrones. So just... I'm more of a horror guy. I'm more of a cabin in the woods guy. So Evil Dead 1 and 2 are in my heart heavier than Army of Darkness. Ash being more of a dick. It works. It doesn't ruin this movie. I still, every time that, get the fuck out of my face. That line, every time, howl.
Let's talk about that for a second, because that was the one thing that just jumped out to me in terms of like what makes this movie great. And I think obviously Bruce Campbell makes this movie great. Like him, the actor, the character he brings to it. You don't have this movie if you don't have this guy in there, and he still brings that charm. But like you mentioned, he kind of amps it up considerably, and kind of has a little bit more of this like manly macho posturing. Like
it's like Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China.
And they do kind of give him a little bit of a, not that he's an idiot, but they kind of make him not seem super duper bright in a lot. He can still save the day, but when it comes to the words and certain things, they kind of paint him as kind of a doofus maybe. And I don't know that I like that 100%, because in Evil Dead 1 and 2, he's not that at all in Evil Dead 1. In Evil Dead 2, they give him a couple of moments to kind of show off.
He's endearing in 1 and 2. Right.
But he's not this like bumbling guy.
He's trying to put you off in Army of Darkness. I was my favorite scene, like my favorite sequence in the whole movie. And it's the part where to me it feels the most like Evil Dead 1 and 2 is when, like the... the skeleton hands are coming out. They do the Three Stooges
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
That whole sequence there, because they're actually torturing Ash and Bruce Campbell, and that's what always was so fun, especially in Evil Dead 2, was just the torture that
Oh,
Raimi
God.
was putting him through, because they were all friends who grew up with each other and just doing what they love, and it was like, let's mess with them so hard. And that, to me, what's that, like in the middle of the movie?
Yeah.
That part, yeah, like Little Goody Two Shoes, Evil Ash, all that to me is just my favorite section of this film.
100%. I was going to say the exact same thing. The amount of punishment that he goes through in Evil Dead 2 is a staple.
Oh yeah,
and because it's just like it's never ending. And then for them to bring
we're gonna just break a plate over your head. No, break like 10 of them.
Yeah, just keep going. Flip yourself over. You know, like do all kinds of weird, like just hurt yourself. Like bookcases are falling on him. He sits in a chair, it breaks. It's like there's so many bad things that happen to.
It's that Three Stooges influence that Raimi and them. I mean, come on, the fake Shemps. We all know that. How even if you look at the credits of Evil Dead, like they're credited as fake Shemps, which was Shemp was the Three Stooges character before Curly.
Yeah, and they bring the punishment here too in different ways, but that they do harken back to it in that a little bit. But it's just his performance in general really works.
It does, and we're not mentioning he plays dual roles.
He does play dual roles,
and I actually like him as the villain character, Bruce Campbell. I like him a lot. I think that's great.
Yeah, and that I think ties into with the comedy of the movie too, where in Evil Dead 2. Again, they're leaning into horror, but they have comedic parts to kind of like break it up. But this one's like a full-blown comedy. Like they're not trying to scare you really at this point.
Well, Evil Dead 2 compared to 1 is definitely
more comedic.
Full-blown comedy if you're going to do a comparison from each film to the previous one.
Sure.
But you're right. Army of Darkness is... I'll put it to you like this. I let my son watch Army of Darkness when he was about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't show him Evil Dead.
No, yeah,
you know?
For sure.
He loved it. He loved Army of Darkness. And held up 20-some years later. He watched the whole thing and enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, it's just great, like slapstick comedy. And again, it's all on Bruce Campbell's shoulders. Like it all has to rest on him for it to work. But
it really does. I mean, gee, he's in every scene.
He is.
I don't think
he's carrying this thing.
Yeah.
He's carrying it. And I think the last thing that I would just mention, sort of going back to what you said earlier, where, you know, you're not a fan of like medieval settings necessarily. And I'm not glad that they went to the medieval setting, but what I do think they managed to handle well is just the evolution of the material. Like how they obviously had this story in mind where Bruce Campbell is going to get sent back in time and have to deal with this shit all over again. End of Evil Dead 2. So now they've got to take that little nugget and say, okay, well, what do we do with it? And they really crafted a huge like movie to go with it. And I feel like even though it might not be anyone's favorite of the three, it lives on its own in such a really great way. It could be someone's favorite of the three. I don't know.
I wouldn't be mad if somebody said Army of Darkness is their favorite. I'm not mad.
I wouldn't be mad at that
great
either.
movie.
I agree.
It's a great movie. And I like what you pointed out. Like when you first watch Evil Dead 2, I think we're so used to these films existing. But if you watch them on their own for the first time, like the ending of Evil Dead 2 just feels like a joke.
Yeah, it does.
It just feels like a joke.
We're going to punish you more.
Yes, Ash, you didn't get away from anything, and now you're literally
you're
in the
screwed
Middle
forever.
Ages. Exactly. And then the fact that you said that they actually followed it up with a whole plot and a whole other movie about him in the Middle Ages is great.
It is.
Mean, it's fun. You can't go wrong.
You can't. They take this material and they really blow it up times 100. Everything feels much larger. Everything just feels like I said, the set pieces, like everything to do with it is just so much larger. And I do like, it's kind of cool that each one of these movies, Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, you could watch as their own movie or as a trilogy. I mean, because they all have different endings, different beginnings. Like they all string together and work, but you could just sit and watch Evil Dead 2 and be on that it, or Evil Dead 1 or this.
And how many trilogies or franchises can you say that about?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, not really.
But I think, maybe my final thoughts on this. I think what's so special about Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness, man, it's that love. You just feel it. You feel like these are friends who grew up together since childhood. Sam Raimi's doing what he loves. They get to torture his best friend, have some laughs. Like you feel it. It's in the film itself. Just really, it's engaging, man.
It is.
It's great.
It really is.
Great series.
Great heart, great sense of humor. Everything about it is great. And the only thing else I wanted to mention about just being great is this poster art, this original poster art. They knocked this out of the park with as far as capturing the movie, capturing the likeness. But one other poster art that I saw for the international version, I also really think is cool. And it's this one right here. I think that is so badass. Like, look at that poster
That
art.
looks like Beastmaster.
Dude, doesn't it? Like, but still, it's like Bruce Campbell all
or
jacked.
Conan. Yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
Conan.
exactly. He's jacked. He's got like his chainsaw shining. The villain's here. The Army of Darkness is down there. It just looks, again, it's like, it's probably a spoof.
It does. It looks like
But
Conan O'Brien
it's cool.
mixed with
Conan
Elmer.
O'Brien.
Conan
the Barbarian.
Yeah, it looks like Conan the Barbarian mixed with Elmer from Brain Damage at the top.
Just it looks badass. It looks really cool. So I've always really liked that too. I don't know, like I don't know if there's any nitpicks that anyone can lob at this thing. I'm not about to do any right now. I think as a whole, it's a really well executed movie on a fairly modest budget at the time, and I think it stands the test of time. But just to conclude, so it did make $11.5 million on an $11 million budget. So it just crossed over the borderline, but
Not
at 21.5
really. You got to take
worldwide.
into consideration marketing, which you usually it's about half of a budget. So they spent, when all is said and done, about 16 to 17 million, and it didn't make it back. But with home video releases,
it killed it.
and what Evil Dead is to the physical media community,
Yes.
I mean, Jesus Christ, that's like not even horror. I would just say out of any film series or film that gets put out, Evil Dead is a collector's wet dream.
And it's made its money back, for sure.
It probably made more on home video releases than it did. Well,
Probably,
I
yeah.
guarantee it did. What am I saying?
Yeah, definitely.
At this point.
Yeah, and Sam Raimi, after this movie, went on to direct The Quick and the Dead, A Simple Plan, which is one of the most depressing movies I've seen, For the Love of the Game, and The Gift.
For the Love of the Game is one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen.
And then he struck gold with Spider-Man right after that. And now he's doing, but he also did Drag Me to Hell, Oz, Great and Powerful. Now he's back with Doctor Strange.
We got to mention the car. The car being in every Sam Raimi movie.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that started with Evil Dead.
Yeah,
1, 2.
Yep. And they really jack up the car in this movie too,
I know,
which is a great set piece too. It's badass.
They actually included. He managed to include that stupid car in a film that takes place in the Middle Ages.
They worked it in.
Hats off to Sam Raimi.
Great job. Great job. Yeah. And like you just said a second ago, as far as, us and the home media viewer and the VHS viewer and the people that love this movie, this franchise went on to basically just be culturally significant to our entire generation. It's been milked,
multiple generations. A lot of kids now, they're
Yeah.
into it through the video games. There's a few. They just put out one.
They did. Video games, the television series, that's all still active. And then they've got comic books, a remake, hundreds of physical media editions, which we've probably bought most of.
We came close to getting a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
And just add that into the hopes for a box set.
I think there were comics that exist of it, but we got real close to that.
Isn't he in like a
being
Mortal
film.
Kombat downloadable content too?
Probably.
I mean, that would make sense also. Now we've gotten solo editions, Necronomicon editions, groovy sets, box sets, DVD sets, you name it. It's been everywhere. And now it's back out again from Scream in their collector's edition, which again, they've put this out before, and you're getting literally the same stuff that you've gotten before, except it's got a new 4K restoration of the film. But you're getting theatrical directors and an international version. The director's cut has the original ending, and the international version is the TV version, which clocks in at 90 minutes, and it has all kinds of cutscenes, and some of which were re-edited and rearranged in a different order. So it's kind of a different experience of the movie altogether. Now, Shout commented, once this was announced, people were pretty pissed that you were only getting theatrical in 4K. And Shout's website was getting spammed with all kinds of hate comments until they finally did respond, and they were like, this is the only version that we had all of the elements at our disposal to restore. And when we say we're doing a 4K restoration, we're not just going to do like 90% of the movie and grab 10 minutes from somewhere else to kind of cobble it together. Like, we want the whole thing or nothing.
You ever watched a movie where a release where they've done that, and it's so jarring?
Yeah, it's very noticeable.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So they came out and they just said that real simply, like, we couldn't do it. Sorry. And, but people still are saying, then just give us a solo theatrical release then. Charge us less and just give us a solo with the 4K, but no sale. So people are pissed. I don't know how many people out there are pissed. If you're somebody that was thinking that way, let us know.
Scream Factory literally can't do it. What are you pissed off about?
Yeah.
That would look shitty. I don't want that.
They're
Why would I
saying-
buy a 4K disc with that style? I mean, the whole point is to have an upgrade, and if they literally can't do it,
Yeah.
come on. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, the Blu-rays they give you at least are upgraded too from the 4K restoration that they did. So you're going to get something there.
I'm used to that Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness edition that looked like shit.
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah, you gave it to me.
Sorry. Will we ever get a box set, Russ?
We already did, dude. That awesome Groovy collection that's sitting on your shelf. You roasted me in a previous spot about that. Now
I
I'm gonna
did.
throw it back on you.
I did.
For
I'm
the
sorry.
record, neither one of us picked that up.
No, we definitely didn't. As far as reviews of the disc are concerned, let me see here. I've got. So as far as reviews of the disc are concerned, there isn't too many websites out there that have mentioned too much, except for except for High Def Digest. They've put a full review up. They've got some screenshots as well, which maybe we can throw up and show as well. But they basically are saying that this is a highly satisfying presentation of the theatrical cut, and it's a vast improvement of the Blu-ray predecessor.
From the Blu-ray predecessor from Scream Factory?
From Scream Factory, yep.
That looked good.
Yeah, it's porting over all the same stuff as you know, but it's highly recommended for every diehard fan and should be proudly displayed in their library. Is their review of this disc, and they do have some side-by-sides, which we'll throw up as well for people to see. But now it's time to play everyone's favorite game, Russ. Is it greasy? So let's find out. So I've got my copy right here. Now that we know that it's good, now that we know the picture's great, I feel comfortable.
Has anybody reported steelbooks coming with grease?
I don't know if there's been any steelbooks.
I'm going to have to check mine tomorrow.
Okay, so let's rip this bad boy open here.
I can smell the grease already.
Can you smell the grease?
It smells like bacon when you open up a Scream Factory release out of the plastic.
Feels nice and thick, this release. Kind of coming out here. All right, let's take a look. And the drum roll. Okay, we got discs that are just falling right out right away. Let's get those back in there. And, okay, I don't see any immediate grease. I don't know that I like how easily these fall out. Oh, all discs have fallen out.
That could have been through shipping, though.
All discs, everyone. Oh, and they're about to all fall out of my lap.
It's widely known that mailmen are assholes.
Each one of these, if I can, I'll try to show it to you once I get all these back in there.
The discs themselves are greasy.
Seriously, I just don't think that they like stick in here very well. Like the how the things.
This is Indiana Jones all over again, dude. You got to start buying steelbooks, man.
Dude, seriously, like look at this. I can't. Oh my god.
This feels like one of those infomercials where like the actors are over. I can't hold a glass.
Black and white. It's like, has this happened to you?
Have you ordered directly from Scream Factory?
Like I can't press this hard enough to get it all to the point where they're not going to fall out. Okay, maybe I just got it there. Okay. I will say there is some smudges within these trays, but it's not nearly as bad.
It just fell right back out.
Yeah, what's pissing me off, though, is how none of these stay in the trays. So buyer beware. Disc looks great, but I can't keep this in. Each one of these discs has different art as well. Let's see. Let's watch, you guys. Oh, they stayed in. Let's see. Oh, burn, and it's out.
Ooh, that's got to hurt.
It's got to hurt. That's the international cut. Who gives a shit? And lastly, it's like this, which I'm going to hold because it's just going to fall out. But Army of Darkness 4K, it's out. Check it out. The reviews seem to be good. The movie itself is great. If you didn't know that already, shame on you. Go out and blind buy this immediately. If you're already a fan, obviously this is the 5th version of this movie you've bought, so congratulations. But another movie, Russ, or movies, should I say? Movies, shall I say, that are arriving this week, same day, in fact, is October 4th, 4K Ultra HD from Scream Factory. The box set of the year is the Halloween 4K collection, 1995 to 2002, which is Halloween 6 through 8.
This is the most baffling release of all time. We've covered why, due to the rights issues and the stipulations that Scream has to put this out.
Yes.
But man, is it stupid.
Due to rights issues, you're right. They could not put them out individually. They had to come together. And they are arriving in a terrible outer box. but the insides have slipped similar to Scream 1 through 5 that Scream already put out, or Halloween 1 through 5 that Scream already put out. They're receiving a handful of new features, but mainly it's just a visual upgrade. Is it worth the upgrade? We'll discuss shortly because there have been some reviews of this as well. And as Russ, you mentioned before, these films are widely known as some of the worst in the franchise. But today we're going to talk about why. Why you think so, and what maybe some of the outside fans may think so. And we'll just kind of go through each one of these one at a time, just give some brief thoughts on each, and then we'll kind of sum it up with the box set itself. But I guess we'll start at the most logical place, which is The Curse of Michael Myers, which is Halloween 6.
That's correct, man.
1995 film, directed by Joe Chappelle, who was the showrunner of The Wire.
I was hoping you were going to say he was the showrunner of Chappelle's Show.
Nope, that would have been too comical. But he is the showrunner. He was the showrunner of The Wire, and then after that, he directed Phantoms, in which Ben Affleck was the bomb.
Oh, wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yep, so he directed that. Starring Donald Pleasance in his final film role.
That's right.
And Paul Rudd in his first film role.
He's lucky it wasn't his final. He's painful to watch.
His final. Yes, that was his final film role. And Donald Pleasance actually died 8 months before this release, and this movie's dedicated to him. I don't know if you're aware of that as well. This film concludes the story arc, which started 4 and 5. So number 6 is kind of like the conclusion of those characters and what's going on with them, allegedly.
Well, the original 2 as well.
Okay. All right. And in this film, it takes place, it's in regards to Michael Myers still continuing to hunt the Strode family, killing the last surviving relatives. Like that's what essentially the plot is here. There might be a little bit more cult stuff going on and some other interesting, weird things that happen.
Trust me, the fans love the cult aspect.
The fans love it.
The fans love that this explains why he's immortal.
Yes.
No, but it also ties into 1 and 2 because it's Tommy Doyle, who Paul Rudd's playing is Tommy Doyle, who was the child, the boy in the original that Laurie's watching.
Okay.
And if you're keeping up with the new releases, Halloween Kills, the character that Anthony Michael Hall is playing.
Okay. Well, this movie, I guess, really had a tough time being written, tough time being made.
Tough time watching,
like all around. The script was passed around a ton of times and was reworked extensively prior to shooting. Like you said, it mentions, or it attempts to share why Michael Myers is immortal or why he continues to return. Many aspects of this film were reworked real time, like on set right there in that moment. They're like, this isn't working. Let's change that up, including things like the ending as some like deadlines loom for them. At some point, Miramax just took over the whole production. They were like, look, things are getting like way out of control. Too many reshoots have been ordered. Like, we've got to get in here and like fix this problem. And I don't know if this is true. This is something that I read to be true, which would be hilarious to me if it is that while this movie was being made, they kind of were playing around with a lot of different titles. Like, they didn't know what the title was going to be, even as they were shooting. And finally, the writer decided to go with The Curse of Michael Myers because of how cursed he felt putting this movie together.
I didn't know that.
How funny is that? If that's true, like this movie is a damn curse. That's what the movie is called. That shit's funny to me. So the movie gets put together, and then it gets screened. People hate it. More reshoots ordered, even after Miramax takes over. More reshoots now because it's screened and people dislike it, including a brand new ending from what was put on there before. And then, and this is probably something that maybe you can comment on too, but the film, allegedly, I've never seen it, has sort of like a disjointed nature. And Joe Chappelle has come out and basically said, like, I was getting direction from this honcho, this Miramax person, this producer, and I just had to keep like changing things around and to fit everyone's narrative that the movie just kind of suffered as far as the vision's concerned.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Anybody who watches it, you don't have to be a film scholar to put that together.
Okay. I'm not.
And then and then of course there was always the fabled producer's cut that for years was unavailable until Scream put that out in the box set.
Yep.
I believe it. It's available on this one as well, which, as you said, if you just detailed the troublesome nature of the entire production, I don't care what cut you put together. This was a mess from the start.
Yep.
And you feel it watching it. Oh my God, you feel it. Paul Rudd, who, I mean, like, look at it like this. Even if Paul Rudd did a bad job in this movie, he's Paul Rudd now. You could probably watch it in hindsight and just it's not even enjoyable on that level.
Not even enjoyable there.
Like, it's just bad. It's joyless.
Yeah.
All that pain that you just described, you feel it on the screen while you're watching it. To me personally, it is easily the worst Halloween film, and I'm even going to put this below Rob Zombie's.
Well, I think everything you're saying obviously makes sense, because it sounds like also that when they sent the stuff out to the screenings and it was no good, and they're like, okay, we need to do more reshoots. Not only did they change the ending, not only did they edit this thing down to where now things just appear even more confusing because so much stuff got cut out, but they even replaced Michael Myers for the reshoots. So when they came back to reshoot it, they were like, you know what? Michael Myers looks a little too bulky. So for the last third of the movie, Michael Myers appears thinner because he's a different actor.
You know what's funny? I don't even know if I've ever finished this movie.
Wow.
I think this is the one Halloween film I've never seen all the way through. And I've had multiple attempts in my life. Think about the year this came out and our age. This would have been my bread and butter. I was, 13 when this came out? What 13-year-old boy in the 90s wasn't watching horror films? Yeah. Dude,
And so why is it terrible? Like, tell me just a couple of thoughts. Like, what doesn't work about it?
Everything.
From a person that's never seen it.
Well, I still think what they were reeling from was I still think they were reeling from Halloween 3. Mm-hmm. Well, hold on. I'm just going to go plot wise.
Okay.
I think they were still reeling from Halloween 3. I think there are so many. Like I said, we're dealing with Tommy Doyle. We're dealing with shit. We're connected to Jamie Lloyd. We're connected to the Danielle Harris character from 4 and 5.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's trying. We got Pleasance back. We got Loomis back. It just feels like it's trying to do so much and trying to like save this continuity. And then everything we just said, it's boring and it sucks.
Characters
on
suck.
top of that.
The kills
it's like,
suck,
dude,
all
just
that stuff.
forget it. Don't even care about the content. Just try and do a good movie. And then when you jump to H2O, they decided, let's retcon all this shit.
Let's make it better. Well, this movie,
it's just very unenjoyable. Like on a funny, if you can't watch it ironically, you can't watch it seriously. It's boring. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, it's easily for me my least favorite Halloween entry. I would rather watch Busta Rhymes kung fu fight Michael Myers in Resurrection than watch this.
Well, this movie, not only from fans, but also critics, it was universally panned. Yeah. And I don't even really follow this kind of stuff too much, but just it's funny to me that it got a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, that's how poor it does across everything. And here's one quote. Audience. And yeah,
it got a 9% audience rating?
I believe so. Yep.
Wow.
And this is one quote that was on there. It trades the simple, brutal effectiveness for convoluted mysticism.
Yeah, the convoluted. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like it's trying too hard, and it's like, yo, this is Halloween Part 6.
Yeah,
I don't need this to make complete sense. Like, just do a good horror movie. Nobody cares at this point.
Yeah, and like you said, well, it was a $5 million budget. It got a $15 million at the box office. It didn't do well at all. And like you said, there was a producer's cut that was circulated out there with 45 minutes of additional footage and a different ending as well. And this version has a cult following, which eventually was put out on Blu-ray, and like you said, will be in this set as well. The writer of this film, Daniel Farrens, he's got like a commentary on here too. But essentially, he left the franchise after this movie that he wrote, because he kind of also felt like my vision was tinkered with like left and right. I don't even want to like do anything else where they're going to screw with me. He's been cursed, right? But so then, so that movie came out in 1995. 1998 is Halloween H2O. Yes. And that's Halloween 7, basically. And this is directed by a guy named Steve Miner, who directed Final Fantasy. Friday, who directed, I did that the last time too, who directed Friday the 13th 2. He directed Friday the 13th 3. He directed House. He directed Soul Man.
I didn't know that. I knew the others. I didn't know Soul Man.
He directed Soul Man. He directed...
arguably the scariest film that he's made.
He directed Warlock. And maybe our personal favorite on his list, Russ. Are you ready? He directed Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't even know Soul Man, but I definitely didn't know he directed Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken.
So basically what you're telling me is he's one of the goats.
He's one of the goats of all time. For those that haven't seen Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken, I mean, you could see where a lot of his direction styles and things kind of like come into play there as well.
Easily my favorite Cliff Robertson performance.
Easily.
As you are aware.
Easily. So new director, new writers too. Now, he didn't write this movie, but apparently Kevin Williamson pitched the story for this movie.
Oh, wait. I thought Kevin Williamson wrote it.
He didn't write it. He didn't do the script. He pitched it, and he's kind of got like an uncredited nature on the film's credits itself, but he's just known for having done that.
Oh, it feels like a Kevin Williamson film. It definitely does.
Yeah, so he definitely was involved, but he didn't actually write the script. And this one stars Jamie Lee Curtis. This one stars Michelle Williams, Josh Hartnett, and LL Cool J.
Yes.
He's here, LL Cool J. Following Curse of Michael Myers, this film was a reboot of the series, acting as a sequel to Halloween 1 and 2. Correct? Yep. And now Laurie Strode, who was written to have faked her own death, has now been again found by Michael Myers. That's the plot of H2O.
Yes.
And now he's back after her again.
And Josh Hartnett's her son.
And Josh Hartnett's her son.
And
Okay.
they're at like a boarding school type place.
Gotcha. Okay. So Jamie Lee Curtis, it took her a while to come back to this series apparently, and they had to like really talk to her a little bit about what this movie was going to be. And according to legend, I don't know, or maybe it's quotes or interviews she's given, but essentially, she didn't want to come back if Michael Myers was going to live again. Like she wanted to be on a movie that was like, okay, Michael Myers is going to die in this movie, and that's the only way I'm going to come back. However, one of the producers, there was like some contract or something that he written up that basically said, you can't kill Michael Myers. Like, we're going to keep on making these movies. So the compromise that they made in order to get Jamie Lee on the movie was to basically make it appear like he's dead in this one without having him come back in the last 2 seconds and just basically waiting until a sequel was then announced. Like, she knew a sequel was going to come, but she wanted people to at least feel like, okay, he's dead at the end of this one. I don't know. I've never seen it, but that's what I read.
She chops his head off.
So he's dead.
Yeah.
So he gets killed.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, she, I guess, was contractually obliged to come back for the next one in this box set because she's in there.
She's back. She came back. But yeah, so that was what I read about her, at least initial involvement with trying to come back to this series. But another funny thing that I read too was, I guess, in regards to the score of this movie, is that John Ottman, who has done other scores for other films, he's famously did like Usual Suspects. I think he's a director too at this point, but he did the score for this movie, but I guess Bob Weinstein didn't really like what he did. So as the movie was being made, they threw some musical cues and different things in there from Scream 2, and
is it
Scream?
It's in the finished product?
It's in the finished product.
Oh.
Musical cues from Scream and Scream 2 got put in there.
I never noticed that.
To kind of fill it out, including Bob's insistence that Creed's "What's This Life For" be included somewhere at some party or something. Why?
That's probably the worst thing any Weinstein's ever done.
Like, when I read that, I was like, I haven't seen this movie. I don't know where that song shows up. Apparently, it shows up in the credits.
I don't remember it either, dude.
It shows up in the credits at some party, apparently. But I'm like, this has got to be in it. This song.
I mean, it's 1998.
Get Creed in there.
I'm not defending Creed by any means, but I mean, come on, dude. You watch a lot of movies from that era. There's a ton of shitty music in it.
What is life? How's it go? I forget.
I don't fucking know, dude. Don't ask me.
Ross, you're a big Creed fan. Now, so this movie fared better with critics.
Yeah, it's underrated.
It's the highest grossing Halloween film until Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
Well, in 2018 Halloween. I think it even beat the zombie ones.
It did? It beat the first zombie one?
Maybe. I don't know.
That broke bank.
It had a $17 million budget and a $75 million box office hit. So the one before it was $5 million budget, $15 million box office. This was $17 million budget, $75 million box office.
And you know what's funny? So like I said, I think this one's underrated.
Yeah, why? Why is this one much better? Like, why did the fans come back for this one?
Because it corrected everything we just complained about with
all that
6.
mysticism junk is gone.
No, I don't know. I'm talking about even on a production level. Name me the actor. Like Paul Rudd was terrible. That all the actors are terrible. Say what you will about these, but these are names. I know who Josh Hartnett is. Michelle Williams has proven herself to be a great actress.
LL Cool J.
Seriously, don't diss LL Cool J.
I didn't.
Jamie Lee Curtis. You've got Janet Leigh coming in here. There's
There's
a lot of Psycho references in it too.
Okay.
I mean, right down to, I believe, Janet Leigh's name in it. is like Marion Samuels.
Yeah.
I want to say it's that. It's either that or Marion Crane. It's either what she signed in the book in Psycho or her actual name, but they use that in this. Obviously, that's Jamie Lee Curtis's mother also. Psycho and Halloween. Like there's a lot of that feels very Kevin Williamson too.
Yeah.
It's just to reference previous horror films. It sounds contrived and stupid today. That was like, damn, why did the Halloween franchise just go with whatever was in vogue with horror genre in the late 90s? But because 6 was so fucking terrible, this was welcomed. This was like, thank you. Give me the Kevin Williamson treatment with Halloween.
Yeah.
6 is that bad to me. It is, dude. It's the Scream version of the original. It's almost like a Force Awakens because there are many shots that I don't want to say mirror the original, but it does, man.
So this one's good. It's not terrible.
No, it's good.
But when you said to me about this box set, you said no one's excited to have these 3. These are arguably the worst 3 in the whole series. What about this one? I thought, but this one's okay or no?
For me, it is. But I think a lot of horror fans do not look at the Kevin Williamson era of horror with positivity.
Gotcha.
And I think your typical Halloween fan didn't want to see Michael Myers, especially, like I said, now that we're so far removed from that era. They just don't like that Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, urban legend treatment to the Halloween series.
Yeah.
But by now, we've had Rob Zombie, we've had these modern ones. It's like, this is a good one
right.
compared to everything else we've seen this franchise do.
Okay.
But like I said, I've never had a problem with that because I never really trashed Kevin Williamson.
So after having such a shitty experience with the last one, do you think it was like when this was announced, do you think people were like, okay, Jamie Lee Curtis is back. Like, let's give this another try. That's why people even went back to it.
Yeah, it was the 20-year anniversary. She came back since part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big deal at the time.
Would you feel comfortable watching in this order Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then Halloween H2O? And
yes.
like that's a trilogy that I can stand behind, and that's it.
Yes. And I'll even say this, the newer like retcon sequels, the Halloween Kills and all that, they essentially take this plot where it's Laurie Strode is victimized clearly by everything she's been through.
Yes.
And I'd say H2O does it better than the newer movies, where they just try to make her Sarah Connor.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's no, this does it pretty well. I will also say with this, there's a good like half hour or 40 minutes towards the end. It's solid, man. It's just straight like a chase. You know what I mean? It's good.
Okay.
It's good. This would probably be in my top 5 of all the Halloween films.
Okay. Well, so they managed to kill Michael Myers in this one. So I guess that's fitting that the next Halloween film in this box set and in the series is called Halloween Resurrection, which came out in 2002. So we're talking another 4 years later. And this one's directed by Rick Rosenthal, who directed Halloween 2 and who directed Halloween 2. And he also directed Bad Boys with Sean Penn. Yes.
Not Christopher Walken. That's a close range.
Eastside Morales.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, no, that movie was badass too. So he directed this. Again, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tyra Banks, Busta Rhymes, and Henry Rowan Gardner himself, Thomas Ian Nicholas from Rookie of the Year.
Who the fuck is Henry?
Rookie of the Year. Yeah, Henry Rowan Gardner from Rookie of the Year. He's back. So is this like the best cast yet or what? And you mentioned, there's like all these multiple timelines, but this one picks up on the H2O timeline before Halloween gets rebooted again in 2007 and then gets rebooted again in 2018. So Myers, the story here is Myers' rampage continues in Haddonfield, where his home is used for like a live streaming horror show of some kind. And it was originally titled Halloween Homecoming, Halloween H2K, and HalloweenMichaelMyers.com.
God, I wish they went with that last one.
Can we get that in the box?
Dude,
Can you change the title in the box?
If they titled it MichaelMyers.com, I think, dude, my rating of it would go higher just on that title alone.
So when this movie came out,
.org would have been even
.org,
better.
And you can only get to it on Netscape. This was panned by critics completely, and they basically said it's an unnecessary sequel to H2O. It's devoid of joy and energy. It makes Jason X look Shakespearean, is what someone said, a critic of this film. And fans have called it the worst of the series. That's from a fan perspective, worst of the series, even over 6.
When you brought up the fact that I said these are the ones that the fans hate the most, I was mainly pointing to Resurrection. Resurrection is widely known as I think 6 is worse.
6 is worse.
Hold on, read that one quote again to me. You said it was what? It's joyless?
It's so devoid of joy and energy, it makes Jason X look Shakespearean.
It's devoid of energy. That's the problem. It's not devoid of joy. Dude, Busta Rhymes, Kung Fu fighting, Michael Myers. I don't care. That's worth the price of admission alone.
Did they give LL Cool J anything that cool to do?
Hold on. No, actually, LL Cool J, he's just like working security. He's like the toll booth dude that gets in.
Okay.
Stop dissing LL.
He's
he's a battle rapper, Matt. Mama said knock you out.
So
asshole.
what's Busta doing then?
Man, he's fucking Michael Myers up.
Okay.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But for a long time, I would have maybe gone with the masses and said this is the worst one over 6. But a friend of mine once said about 8, he said, dude, this is Halloween Part 8.
Get over it.
Seriously.
Get over yourself.
And it was like, what are you expecting at this point? Like, Part 8.
Yeah.
Like, dude, makes Jason X look Shakespearean. Like, Jason X. What are you going in expecting with this, with Jason in space? Like, dude. And honestly, there is more enjoyment to be had in 8 than Part 6. I'm not saying it's objectively a good film or maybe even objectively better, but there is more entertainment and enjoyment from 8 than 6.
Gotcha.
But it is a shitty movie.
It's a shitty movie. Well,
but you can laugh. Like I said, Busta Rhymes, Tyra Banks.
Yeah.
And on the whole like real world-esque take on it, the internet. I mean, when did this come out? What was it?
2002. It's the first Twitch stream.
The internet had been around for a little bit. I was about to say that was kind of a fresh take for 2002. Nah,
a little. This one did nearly the box office that the one before it did. So again, they had a 15 million budget, 37 million box office, so half of what H2O did.
The worst part was bringing Laurie back and giving her they kill her.
They kill her in this one?
Yeah,
she's
like
dead.
The first 10 minutes.
In the first 10 minutes?
Dude, before you even told me that Jamie Lee Curtis, like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, there was something contractual that she had to go back.
And then they kill her.
Yeah, I always thought it was like the Han Solo thing where she probably said, oh, I'll do this, but you got to kill me off because I'm done with this franchise.
Yeah.
But, which didn't turn out to be true either.
No. And so in 2018... John Carpenter, who was doing press for the 2018 Halloween, he was asked about some of his older films, or not his, but some of these older films, and he was asked about this one, and this was his quote. He said, I watched the one in that house with all the cameras. Oh my God. Oh Lord God. And then the guy gives the speech at the end about violence. What the hell? Oh my Lord. I couldn't believe it. From the John Carpenter. John Carpenter.
Honestly,
so why does it suck?
Hold on.
Give me why it sucks so bad.
Let's go back to John here for a second.
Yeah, John.
The fact that John Carpenter said that, John Carpenter is like the most laid back. You cut him a paycheck, he won't say shit about anything. He was out there bigging up the Rob Zombie release when it came out. And then a couple years later down the line, he finally came out and was like, yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
But he was just, dude, he doesn't care. He does not care. Damn near every one of his movies has been remade at this point.
Yeah.
He does not care. So the fact that Part 8 elicited a response from him in that manner is hilarious.
Yes, he was not with it at all. And so just to conclude, after... Well, wait, you didn't tell me why this movie sucks so bad. Like, is there any particular reason why? You just said it's got no energy.
I agree with the no energy thing.
Yeah.
And it just, there's no point to its existence. It doesn't add anything. It kind of just slaps H2O in the face and Laurie Strode. And I know we're only talking about 6, 7, and 8, but if we want to go into the whole franchise, obviously the original is a classic and a masterpiece, and we're watching
Part 8.
Well, yeah. Well, no. Not only are we watching Part 8, but we're watching Laurie Strode, who is the heart of the first one.
Yeah,
it's bullshit. She's in, she doesn't want to be there. Yeah.
So it's just lifeless, joyless. So after these three turds were done steaming, they took a break from Halloween for a few years. Rob Zombie rebooted it in 2007 with Halloween, and then Halloween 2 in 2009. His entries had modest worldwide success financially, but then they had a sharp dip for 2. So I guess people saw his first one. Then when 2 came out, they were like, nope, no thanks. So now, after Rob Zombie's turn, there was another reboot to Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills. And now Halloween Ends is out October 14th. It's out this month. It's already here. Can't believe it. Are you going to watch it?
Hell yeah. Halloween Kills was so ridiculously dumb.
We should do a review of it.
I'm back on board.
We should come back. We should do a review.
I hated. Oh, I forgot about the third reboot. I like Rob Zombie's better than the 2018 one. And Halloween Kills is not a good movie, but damn, is it funny.
Well,
so I want to see how they conclude. The comedic trilogy.
2018 Halloween. No, we were just talking about box offices and stuff, and it's always like, oh, they had a 5 million and 15 million
I think
score.
It broke a record.
17
for
million
R-rated.
budget, 75 million box office, whatever. This one had a 255 million worldwide. Yeah. Dude, that's insane. 255 million worldwide.
Because they really sold the whole, this is a direct sequel to the original. And that's what's kind of weird. It's, Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back. And I'm sitting there like, we've done this.
Yeah, we've already been there.
We've done this. And H2O did it better.
Yeah. But Halloween Kills did half that amount. And I wonder if that has to do with streaming.
Yeah. I don't even think Halloween Kills was released theatrically, was it?
I don't know.
It debuted on like Hulu or something.
Yeah. I don't know. But I did stumble upon this interesting little graphic for those that might be a little confused about in what order you might want to watch some of these movies if you care to do that. Because there is a lot of convoluted timelines and one-offs and, all kinds of... This doesn't happen in like, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like this doesn't happen in, I don't think, like Friday the 13th where there's all alternate timelines and new characters and stuff. So it's just a lot that goes on here. But so you're saying watching 1, 2, then dipping down to Halloween H2O?
That's exactly what I said.
Yep. But skip this. Don't watch Resurrection. Just let Michael Myers die and it be over.
It depends. Like I said, it's the Halloween franchise. It's almost become synonymous with, all right, there's just going to be a ton of sequels.
And wait, Halloween 2018 skips over to H2O and Resurrection and they just go right after Halloween 1? I don't think I knew that.
I just said that like 5 minutes ago.
Fuck, Russ. I'm not listening to anything you say.
Well, I wasn't sure. I didn't recall if it picked up with Halloween 2.
Oh, okay.
Because the original Halloween 2 literally takes place like Halloween 1 ends, the one you've seen, the original masterpiece ends. Halloween 2 picks up right where Halloween 1 ends.
What happens to Michael Myers at the end of Curse? Because this is the end of this timeline also. Does he die at the end of that or he doesn't?
That's 6, right?
Yeah.
I told you, I don't even think I've ever finished.
Doesn't it get passed on to Loomis, or was that just like a scrapped idea?
It might have. Dude, I'm being completely honest. I don't think I've ever completely finished 6.
Gotcha. Well, this series has been released just like Evil Dead thousands of times, numerous different ways, with the Scream Factory box set probably being the cornerstone of anyone's Halloween collection, if you were so lucky to get that. But now we're back. As we talked about before, slowly getting all these individuals. Now you're getting this 3-pack. At some point, Rob Zombies will come out at some point, maybe these new ones too. And then you'll ultimately get that whole box set down the line, and then we'll be doing this all over again. But as far as what the discs look like, again, High Def Digest, they have some information on what it looks like. And this, what they do mention is that the Curse of Michael Myers has a little bit of a different color timing than what people are used to. So if you are a fan of this movie, a diehard fan, you might notice that be a little bit different. The other ones, I guess, enhance the presentation, the color changes with the HDR or whatever else. So according to this review, it is an upgrade that you should be happy with.
6 is dark.
But maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's like a little bit more of a...
And I don't mean tonally. I mean, there are a lot of... The scenes that are in the dark in 6, they are kind of hard to make out compared to the other ones, I'd say.
Yeah, so let's see. So this one's Curse. It says... Let me just see if I can pull it up really quick. There has been a notable shift in the color timing for both cuts of Curse, and it can be a tad dramatic. The first thing folks will likely notice is that shadows are much deeper. Whites are crisper and more natural, pure white than before, and in past discs, whites had been more of a pinkish tone, and that's no longer an issue here. Skin shades are also less pinkish, but still look like people who live in the Midwest in the fall and can't get a tan. So colors also take on a darker grayer shade, so greens aren't quite as bright. So I guess it's a little bit more, it sounds like muted maybe. So I guess, maybe mileage may vary, but in general, overall, this review is saying that everything looks really good. But like this
I'm sure Scream did a great job. I mean,
I'm sure they did, and this collection maybe isn't what anyone wants, and it's probably only if you bought 1 through 5, you're gonna have to buy these.
I feel for him because you can clearly see Scream wants to put all of these out as solo releases with those slips, and they just can't with these 3, and they got to get them out there. And if you are, there are plenty of people out there, I'm sure, who are completists with the Halloween franchise. If you want all these in 4K solo releases with those slips, you got to buy this box.
Yep.
But it's so weird because, like I said, it makes no sense. There's no real connective tissue. I mean, H2O and Resurrection, but throwing 6 in there is just, it would have made more sense if they would have released 4, 5, and 6 together.
Yeah.
And that's probably what they wanted to do. So I can't complain about the set that much, knowing that, their hands were tied behind their backs, but...
Just wait for the box set, everyone. Just wait. Come on, guys. And I mean, Scream Factory put out the limited out-of-print one that you've got, right?
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that they will put out something else in a 4K. Now, I wonder if they'll use that same box configuration as before.
Is so sweet.
And just wrap like a 4K, like label around the top, and like that's what you're going to get in the long run. But they got to put those ones have Rob Zombie or no?
They do.
They do.
They do.
Just not these new crap ones.
And that's what I'm saying. So even if they do a new box, I don't even think I'd upgrade. I would just pick up the original Halloween in 4K.
Gotcha. Well, that's out now for anybody that's interested. But the last film of the week that is new and released and that Russ and I are excited to talk about, and Russ, you've got your copy right over there, is
that's right.
Fright Night. So coming out, coming out October 4th on 4K Ultra HD from Sony is Fright Night in a beautiful steelbook. Russ, let's take a look at that steelbook. It is a beautiful.
The steelbook
Oh,
is
wow.
beautiful.
The Jerry Dandridge back. I didn't see yet. Wow, that looks cool.
There you go. Whoa. Eat your heart out, man. Why did you not pick this up?
I got to pick it up. You're right. Now that I'm looking at it, this thing is, I love, I want to talk about the poster art later, but the fact that the top like shimmers like over top of the house, that the vampire on the top there, like the house is flat, but that shimmers awesome.
There is nothing quite like a smooth,
Yes.
There's certain steel books where they put the care in them, and it's just...
Now, Fright Night itself was just on that J card that was around. I was actually thinking Fright Night would have been on here, but it's not.
No, it's strictly on the J card.
Gotcha. So I didn't pick this up, and only because I'm not as close with it as I feel like I would like to just go back and say, buy this thing. But if you're telling me to blind buy this, Russ, maybe I just will. I'm certainly tempted.
When's the last time you've seen it?
When I was a kid.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it more as an adult. I think you'll recognize it as a good film more as an adult rather than just as entertainment as a child. All
right. So I'd like to talk about that release and the steelbook itself, and what's going on with it. But first, just a little bit about the movie. And now, Fright Night, 1985. We were 3 years old when that hit the theater. Mm-hmm. God damn, Russ, why are we so old? And this was a directorial debut of Tom Holland. His first film yet. And then he later directed Child's Play, which we also reviewed. Mm-hmm. And the movie involves teenager Charlie Brewster, who discovers his next door neighbor is a vampire. And it stars Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, William Ragsdale as Charlie, Roddy McDowall as Peter Vincent, and Amanda Bierce as Marcy Darcy. As Amy Peterson, I think is her name. This film was a success with audiences and critics, earning $25 million on a $9 million budget. It spawned a sequel, a remake, and a sequel to the remake. Mm-hmm. You seen the sequel? Or not the sequel, the remakes with Colin Farrell?
I've seen half of the... You know what's funny? I actually watched some of both of them for completely different reasons.
I'd like to know more.
We'll get there.
I want to talk about, I want to let you talk a little bit about the movie too, because I know I still haven't seen it in so long. It's a little foggy for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts as to why it's such a great movie and what you love about it. Just to go through a little bit of the history before we get into that. So Tom Holland was a screenwriter for years prior to directing this film, and he wrote this movie with the intention of directing it, but it was like he didn't know if anyone would let him direct it because he's just, a screenwriter at the time. Mm-hmm. But then when Psycho 2 kind of took off, Cloak and Dagger took off a little bit for him too. The studio was like, all right, let's take a chance on this guy and just like let him do it. And at the time when they gave him this movie, they were working on, I forget what it was, but they had another movie that they were focusing more on as far as the studio was concerned. So Tom Holland just kind of like got his budget and like was left alone. He like had the opportunity to just like make this movie on his own.
That's the ideal situation to be in.
Yep. And I forget what we talked about before. That was something like that with like Bonfire of the Vanities. What was that movie we were talking about? Somebody was focusing on that, so that the studio was focusing on that, so he got the chance to work on something else a little bit uninhibited. I forget what it was. But anyway, so this movie was all Tom Holland, and excuse me. When he was writing this movie, he basically had this concept of a kid next door to a vampire, but then it kind of like ended there, and he wasn't really sure how does that play out. What do we even do? At the time, and a lot of people that are our age probably remember this, but if you're, I don't know, 18 and watching this, thanks. But also, you probably won't know this, but at the time, there were a lot of these like hosts on television. There was Elvira, there was Joe Bob, there were some of these like a Vincent Price, or someone that like presented scary movies late at night on television, or they had their own channel or some kind of program.
Chris Angel
himself had his own program. But that was kind of, I think, the thing that unlocked it for Tom Holland. He was like, if this teenage kid was a fan of horror movies and things of that nature on television, and he felt like he had this real life problem, I want him to go to his horror host that he feels the biggest connection with, which was that Vincent. What's his name in the Vincent?
Roddy McDowell.
Yeah. But what's his name is?
Shit.
I think, did I have right here? Peter Vincent.
Yeah.
So Peter Vincent, once that was unlocked, it was like, okay, now we've got
When you start off with, I'm like Vincent Price.
Right. And that's what he was.
I know.
That's what he's modeled after, essentially. So this role, like I just said, was an homage to Vincent Price, and who the part was actually written for. But Vincent Price was like typecast forever. He was like, I'm not doing anything else like this. Basically, fuck off. Like, I can't be that guy again. So they got Roddy McDowell, who I guess really was excited about it. Love the script.
I can't picture it with Vincent Price, honestly. Roddy McDowell, he's sweet.
He is sweet.
He's what makes it like warm in this film.
Yeah. And I think what's kind of cool about even you saying that is like when Tom Holland got this film and started getting it together, 2 weeks prior to filming, there was a ton of rehearsals. And within those rehearsals, he told all the characters to sit down and write a biography of their character. And so it's like, what have they been through? Where are they at now in their lives? What this, that, and the other thing. So that when it's time to act this person out, you have all of this sort of emotional baggage from your past, basically. And the Roddy McDowell character, Vincent Price, I keep wanting to say that, Peter Vincent, is kind of like washed up, and like he plays it in a very sweet way. He's playing it in like that sort of a manner because he had an opportunity to sort of like hone in on what the character's motivations were prior to, I guess, filming. Chris Sarandon also was like, I don't want to be in a horror movie, but he was captivated by the script.
He's been in horror movies.
I guess not at that point.
The Sentinel.
Well, I don't know.
Classic horror movie.
Well, I'm not Chris Sarandon, Russ. You need to call him up and give him
Granted,
help.
he wasn't really a star at this point either.
Well, he was against it until he talked to Tom Holland, who, with his passion and really relaying his vision for the thing, kind of excited Chris Sarandon as well. And his quote was, it was obvious that this was a labor of love. It was clear that the director's approach to it was one of wanting to have fun with the genre without making fun of the genre.
That's a perfect way to describe Fright Night.
Yeah, so that's how Chris described it, Russ.
Yeah.
Fuck the Sentinel. He described it, and that's why he's here. Did you know that William Ragsdale beat out Charlie Sheen? Could you have seen Charlie Sheen in this film? Probably been worse.
No, I can't, but I will say I do. Listen, it's a great film. Clearly, I picked it up. I love it. I do think what doesn't send it over the moon, why it doesn't take off into the stratosphere is William Ragsdale.
So we needed Charlie Sheen, is what you're saying.
I can't picture Charlie Sheen doing it at all. I don't know what that would have made this movie skeevy as fuck.
Yeah, all deadpan and shit.
Imagine Peter Vincent. He's so warm, and then he got tiger blood over here, creeping me the fuck out. I'm picturing him like in Ferris Bueller too. Like, that's probably Charlie Sheen every day. But
and the last thing that I'll mention before we talk about the movie itself is just that the visual effects, which are pretty cool for the time, they were done by a guy named Richard Edlund, who was the head of special effects for Ghostbusters. So when he moved over to this movie on a much lower budget, having gone through the process with Ghostbusters, trying to figure out how to make all this kind of stuff work, he kind of had honed his craft even more and was able to be super effective on this movie. A lot of which were involving like the transformations of the vampires, some of which took up to 18 hours to kind of get people together in those contact lenses. I guess that is a big part of the transformation. Where
they're really cool not necessarily. I don't know. I wouldn't say they're really cool transformations because American Werewolf in London already happened.
You don't see a real time transformation.
Yeah. So I should say just the actual creature makeup, the vampire makeup. Yeah. Like even Amanda Bierce with that wide smile thing at the end of the movie is awesome.
Yep.
When you first see Jerry, when he's in his room, or what's William Ragsdale? Brewster.
Yeah.
When he's in Charlie's room, and you first see him, it's very well done.
And the Ed character, He kind of has a
Evil
cool
Ed, yeah.
Evil Ed. He's got a cool transformation.
He does.
So
It's a great movie.
why is it great, Russ? Talk about why it's great. Tell me why it's great.
You know, it's funny. This always in my circles in life or whatever, it always gets compared to The Lost Boys. And I think what this nails that The Lost Boys couldn't is that warmth, is that it feels like the all-American boy, the all-American high school. You're not like William Rag. Charlie isn't the jock. He's not an outsider. He's just playing. Amanda Bierce's character just playing. Evil Ed is, you know, his nerdy friend. You know, he has the earnestness to go to his television horror host for help. Like that's so innocent and sweet. Yeah. And of course he does help him. Like when would that happen in real life? Get the fuck out of here, kid. You know what I mean? Like I love how it's like he knows what's up, but everybody's doubting him. And it's just it's warm, dude. It's just a very sweet movie that manages to have cool horror and cool gore, cool makeup. Usually one of those things are sacrificed, I feel like, you know, either it's you don't buy the warmth, you don't care about the characters, but the gore is great, or vice versa. And I think this one, it just, like I said, I keep going back to warmth. It's like a family feeling or something. I don't know.
I agree. I think you basically touched on everything that I could remember. And one of the main things was that the movie is fun while simultaneously having like when the horror starts, it's not funny. Like,
it's fun without being funny.
Yeah.
That's why I said I really love what Chris Sarandon said, because he's right. It's like you're not getting the impression that it's making fun of the genre or even making fun of a Vincent Price type at all. It is clearly all done with, I love you. I'm honoring you.
They're taking the horror aspect of it seriously in such a way that they've got great special effects. So when it shows up, you're kind of scared a little bit, but when you're not, you're having a good time. And you're having a good time anyway.
You are, and even the horror in it isn't as jarring as, like we just discussed, Poltergeist, where with Poltergeist, that balance of family and horror, it's interesting. There are parts in Poltergeist where I'm like, holy shit, why did you do that in this family film? Like the ripping the face off scene and all that. Where Fright Night, it gives you that stuff, but it never feels jarring. It feels still in that warm place.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I think it achieves that very well. I think Tom Holland's very talented, man. He did a great job.
He did, and he got really great performances out of everyone.
He did.
Like you said, the cast is extremely likable.
It's not William Ragsdale's fault. So I just think he was out of his league.
And that's why I wanted to ask you.
I just think he was out of his league.
Chris Sarandon, awesome. Roddy McDowall, awesome. Yeah. I feel like you really buy into everything. So why did William Ragsdale not do it for you?
I don't know. I just think he was out of his league. I don't think he has he had a leading role since
Herman's
before?
Head.
I know, besides Herman's Head. And that's what this movie I always looked at it like, this is the Fox Sunday lineup movie. It's Married with Children and Herman's Head.
Isn't he in one other thing? Was he? He wasn't Mannequin 2. Wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he wasn't Mannequin 2.
Was he? Are you sure that wasn't like Jason Silverman?
No.
Justin Silverman. He was. Is that what it was? Mannequin 2? Or Weekend at Bernie's 2 was Jason Silverman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Jonathan Silverman.
Jonathan Silverman.
But he was in the first Weekend at Bernie's too. Mannequin 2 was William Ragsdale.
Okay. Mannequin 2.
He was on the move, I remember.
On the move. Electric Boogaloo. Here we have it. And the last thing that I would say, which doesn't really say too much about the movie itself, but the marketing. I said this the last time. The poster, super effective. One of the most memorable, at least to me, in the horror genre. I think it looks incredible. I'm so glad that they did that on the steel and they didn't do some dumbass Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. Let's make this so cool and catchy. It's like, no. That poster is untouchable. That you're not going to come up with anything better for that movie than that incredible poster, and I'm really glad they kept it that way.
If they would have changed that, I wouldn't have pre-ordered it.
I agree.
I probably would have picked it up anyway, just because it's a great release with great features and a great transfer. But I wouldn't have been like, oh my god, I need that on my shelf right away.
Dude, I almost bought that movie on the strength of the cover alone, and I haven't seen it in years. But that cover is so awesome.
If you haven't seen it since you were a child, I'm telling you, because when you're a child, you don't realize great filmmaking. You just love movies. You love being entertained. I think you're going to watch that as an adult, and you're like, wow, this was pretty well made.
Yeah, gotcha. Know? And other than William Ragsdale, anything else that you would say kind of misses for you?
No,
everything else is pretty much firing.
Yeah,
pretty much slapping. Well,
like you said, you get the great characters. This is what fucking horror doesn't have anymore.
Right.
You got more than what, dude. Even if you just had Ed,
Yeah.
He's a standout character. You remember, you're so cool, Brewster. Everybody remembers that to this day. But you don't. You have Peter Vincent. You have Chris Sarandon's character. It's like, so when the gore and the flashy stuff isn't going on, you are still captivated, even as a child, because you were watching great character actors do great work in great roles. And I miss that in horror movies. God, I miss that. I feel like every horror movie I watch today, it's just a bunch of young misanthropes who are miserable about everything. And it's like, I don't care about you.
And you can't wait for them to die.
Exactly.
Here, you don't want anyone to die.
No, I don't want any of them. I don't even want Chris Sarandon to die.
True. Yeah,
he's the villain.
True. He's very sympathetic.
That's what I'm saying. And it's firing on all cylinders. It's very hard to make a movie that good.
Well, they couldn't do it again because they made a sequel. But ultimately, Fright Night was a hit. It was
Ragsdale returned.
He did.
He's in part two.
He did. I saw it too.
I saw it once, and all I remember is like the one vampire girl roller skating.
Bowling scene.
Is that what
There's
it
like
is?
a bowling and that
I just
the Midnight Hour. What's that song? The Midnight Hour by Wilson Pickett or something. It's being played.
That's funny.
Jonathan Grease like is in it. He's also like a monster. There's like four like.
Isn't there one vampire as a female and she's like roller skating?
I think so. Probably
in one part.
Probably.
Like, I don't even recall it.
The original Fright Night was the number 2 highest grossing horror film of '85, passing Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and the critics praised it highly as well. A sequel was greenlit. Many of the cast couldn't return. So Holland and Sarandon were making Child's Play. Bierce was making Married with Children. And Evil Ed went on to do...
I don't know.
976 Evil. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
That movie sucks, but he's like the...
It's like Robert Englund was the only reason I watched it.
Yeah, that movie sucked, but he was in that.
Yeah.
Only Ragsdale and McDowell returned and the movie bombed.
I don't even... Shit, I didn't even realize he was in that. That shows you how much I like 976 Evil.
Yeah, and check this out. This is like a weird piece of trivia that... It's like if you're a product of the age that, if you're in our generation, you might remember this news item. It kind of like really shocked me for a second because I hadn't thought about this in so long. But so Roddy McDowall, having been in the second one, he loved this character. He loved this franchise. He wanted there to be a third one, and he wanted Holland back so badly that he like was lobbying to get this third film made. And he got an interview with the head of Carolco. Was it Carolco or Carolco Pictures?
I always said Carolco.
Carolco Pictures. The chairman of that, he got a meeting with, and the guy's name was Jose Menendez. But right before that meeting could happen, he and his wife were infamously killed by Lyle and Eric Menendez. Do you remember the Menendez brothers, that trial?
Of course.
Yeah. So they killed their parents who were involved in this film industry, who they had a meeting with to talk about Fright Night 3. But because that happened, Fright Night 3 never happened. And Fright Night 2, it like all of the, any marketing for that was completely like pushed to the side as well, where it had a limited theatrical run and went right to video, like right after. Like it got no shine because of all that drama that was going on behind the scenes.
I mean, it didn't deserve any shine.
It didn't, but they could at least have tried to market that thing to get some money. But they were like, no, we got other bigger fish to fry.
Wow, I had no idea about any.
Yeah,
of that.
that's pretty crazy. Remake later made with Colin Farrell as Jerry Dandridge. It was panned.
No, it wasn't.
It was panned, even with the original cast and Holland piling on.
What? I remember that came out. I remember here because I actually attempted to watch it because I remember.
And you didn't pan it?
Well, I remember the person who did it. It was a writer. Was it Marty Nixon? And it was one of the showrunners on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is actually surprisingly a decent show.
Okay.
And that's why I watched it. And Colin Farrell, from what I saw of it, I didn't finish it. Colin Farrell was good.
Yeah.
I mean, Colin Farrell's good, period, honestly. But he was good in that role. I liked how I did reference Chris Angel for some reason, but they updated the Peter Vincent character to be a Chris Angel type.
Okay.
Like a mind freak.
Like illusionist.
An illusionist, yeah, in this one, which makes sense for...
modern day.
Yeah, well...
You're not going to have horror show hosts anymore, so you need something.
And dude, honestly, I'm of a certain age... I'm a purist. I'm gonna go in wanting to hate this remake, and I didn't like it from what I saw. But I also remember thinking that wasn't bad though.
That wasn't
like
bad.
I could tell that was my bias. That was my bias I was bringing into it. Like it wasn't a bad film, especially for a remake. I would rather attempt the Fright Night remake again over Nightmare on Elm Street. Halloween. Like, honestly, from what I saw, it's one of the better horror remakes.
Well, here's what Tom Holland had to say. They forgot the humor and the heart. They
They
should have
did.
called it something other than Fright Night because it had no more than a passing resemblance to the original.
I can understand that. And yes, it totally doesn't have the humor or the heart, but I wasn't going in expecting that from a movie that came out in 2010 that's a horror remake.
Yeah, fuck you, Tom Holland.
Fuck you.
This movie has had a long, a long history on physical media. VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, Laserdisc. It's pretty much had it all, including Twilight Time, one of our favorite companies who puts out like 3,000 and then disappears into the ether. But now it's got this 4K Steelbook, which
The
you have.
Eureka one is the one I had.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this one's got 13 hours of great features, new and old. A total of 13 hours. Incredible packaging. It's a must-own. As of right now, there aren't any reviews on the picture quality or anything that we can share, but before this review actually comes out online, if there's anything to add, we'll definitely add it in there. But for now, all we have is that the release itself looks to be incredible, and unless they fumble the picture quality that badly, this seems to be like one of the best releases for any Fright Night fan to own. And if you want to know more about this movie, I know, Russ, you talked about this before, there's an incredible documentary out there called You're So Cool, Brewster, which is like 5 hours long. It's on this disc. It's probably on YouTube or something also if you wanted to see it. But great film, great release.
You didn't bring up the remake sequel.
There is a remake sequel. You saw that too?
I watched part of it too.
Wow.
You want to know why?
Why, Russ?
You want to know who the main character is played by?
Who?
The actress who played Lila in Dexter season 2.
Oh, yeah, Lila Tourney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
long
like,
black hair lady.
Yep. Yeah.
Loved it.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. But that's our review for Fright Night. And now to conclude, Russ, the finale, our recommendations of the week, everyone's favorite. Let's get a little spooky. Let me see here.
People are literally listening to this.
Yeah, they're listening to this. They're listening to me get things spooky around here. You guys listening?
I feel violated.
If I feel violated. Let's change the lighting. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Lila Tourney. Here we go. And lastly, oh yeah, here we go, Russ. Now we're spooky. All right, so for those of you listening, I've changed the light. So now we're sitting in a red, well-lit room, feeling spooky. Just turn these up a little bit.
Feels like the Lost Boys in here now.
It does. Now we're black and red. So we're, much better. So we're going to do an A to Z, I guess you call it a challenge. I don't know if it's really a challenge, but we are going to go through every letter in the alphabet, and we're going to recommend a horror movie based on that letter. Mm-hmm. And any other parameters that the people should know here, Russ, for this? These aren't movies necessarily that everyone has seen, within a few maybe exceptions. Most of these are heartfelt recommendations. Am I wrong?
Of course. I look at this as these are horror movies you cannot go wrong with.
Okay.
Even if you don't like them, you won't regret watching them, and you will remember them and reference them. That's how I describe it.
Okay. Yeah.
Happy Halloween. Happy
Halloween. Yeah. So we're going to go through these one at a time. We're just going to throw a couple sentences your way. We're not going to go into a deep review of each of these. Just going to shout it out and keep going forward.
So we started with a number, I see. And this one was your pick. I've actually never seen this.
Yeah, we're going to go from starting with a number and then go A through Z. And you tell us down below which of these titles you have seen, haven't seen. What would you have put in this letter? There's obviously tons of other movies that could go here, but these are our recommendations.
Some of these letters, like B, you know how many cool horror films start with blood?
A lot.
I mean, I could have done some of these letters over and over and over again.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's get started. So we'll start with the numbers. And so the first one for numbers is 28 weeks later. We could have gone 28 days later, but I wanted to go with the sequel here. And in a lot of cases, sequels don't always add up to being as good as the first one, including horror sequels. And this one manages to take the material and take it in a new, interesting direction that I couldn't have seen coming, because at the end of the first one you can almost tell like they're spinning their wheels a little bit with the story. Mm-hmm. This one takes what they had and really makes it a very interesting, detour into new territory that I think is just as compelling, just as terrifying, has similar moments of like, are they or are they not going to get out of this? So I would highly recommend 28 weeks later, especially if you've only seen 28 days later and we're like, I don't want to see the sequel. Definitely give it a try.
If I'm a fan of Begbie, should I watch it?
You should, because he's cast in it. Now, it's not the same director or anything else, but he having that tie with Danny Boyle from Trainspotting, I think was maybe recommended, whatever, but he is in it, and he is incredible in it as well. But moving on to A. Russ, what do we got for A?
A, well, this was a joint one. Audition. I didn't select this for A. You did, but I went with it because I'm a big fan of this film as well. I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, definitely solid.
How would you describe Audition? How would you sell Audition?
It's tough to sell Audition because it is one of those very slow burn type of a movie where something is definitely off, but until about halfway through, you don't know exactly how off it is. So you really have to go down the line with this movie.
That's what's so brilliant about it. I love how you just watch the first half hour. Like, this could be a romantic comedy.
It could be anything. Yes.
Like when he's dating and trying to pick out, well, not dating, but like doing the contest, trying to pick out who he likes. It's almost like lighthearted.
It is.
Yeah.
And once shit gets off the rails.
Yeah, you feel it at the end.
Yeah.
I
remember watching like one of those history, like it was like an Eli Roth thing or whatever. And the way that they kind of described it was, first half of the movie is complete slow burn until you don't know what's going on with this girl and this man and what's going on with her behind the scenes. But as soon as you see the shot with her on the phone, and then all of a sudden in the back, something in a burlap bag starts to like scream and roll around, you're like, holy shit, what am I watching? And from there, it just goes off the rails. So Audition, if you haven't seen that, it's a amazing, really disturbing movie. Check it out.
B, I believe this is I don't know if you've ever seen this, Matt.
I haven't.
I am going, and Thanksgiving is right around the corner. The greatest Thanksgiving horror film of all time, Blood Rage.
Blood Rage, okay.
Blood Rage. Arrow has released a great out-of-print edition of this. Long story short, it is a slasher about two brothers who, when they were kids, one brother killed the father, and blamed his brother for doing it. So the wrong brother went to jail all these years, and then he comes out, blah, 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 starts slashing people. It is comical. It knows it's comical. It has great lines like, that's not cranberry sauce about blood. Jesus Christ, I'm fucking this all up. Watch Blood Rage. It's great. You will laugh, and it's entertaining.
Okay. The next one is C for Censor.
Yes.
And Russ, this is a movie that I actually recommended to you. I had seen, and I know based on your feelings for video nasties and the films of that era and being a horror movie centered around a censor of films in that era, I thought you might really enjoy this movie. And what were your thoughts?
I did. I enjoyed it.
You would recommend this?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Okay.
I like how it commits to what it's doing, especially by the end, like the last 20, 30 minutes. If you've seen it, it's like we're fully in her head now.
Yeah.
We're not playing around. Yeah. Like, nah, we're totally within this movie of a movie type. And I loved it. Yeah, I was blown away by it.
Yeah, you're in like this insane person's mind. It does. Yes. It gets pretty off the rails. I just realized that for D, did you have a D before Don't Tell Mommy? Because I was thinking Good Night Mommy and just realized that it's not called Don't Tell Mommy. It's called Good Night Mommy, which doesn't fit for D. Do you have a D?
I think I had written down Don't Go in the House, which we had covered before.
So recommend it one more time. Don't Go in the House.
Don't Go in the House is one of the meanest video nasties you will see tonally. A Norman Bates type, loner, obsessed with burning women.
Yikes.
And it's a skeevy film. It's definitely something, if you wrote a real horror film, it's going to make you uncomfortable. Definitely check it out. Awesome, awesome movie.
Yeah, what you showed of me when we looked at the screenshots and we talked about this movie before in a previous video, I was definitely disturbed by the imagery. And
it's a very unsympathetic film to its lead character, who you're spending the entire movie with. Yeah. Think Taxi Driver or something like that. You are in the mind space of this disturbed man. And the burn victim, oh God, it looks great.
Yeah, they look frightening. Definitely terrifying.
Fantastic film.
Great for Halloween. E, The Entity, another movie that I have not heard of or seen. I do know Barbara Hershey, and I'm a fan of hers. But
you would love it. Anybody would love it. I'll tell you this. Do you know why I watched this movie?
Why?
Scream Factory was putting out a collector's edition, and I read an article about it. Martin Scorsese listed this as one of his top 10 horror films of all time.
Okay.
And this was a film that came out in like 1983 or something.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, why is Scorsese like talking about it like this? I watched it. Incredible. And it actually, it's psychological in many ways. It's about a woman who is actually getting like abused sexually by ghosts.
Wow.
But what's so awesome about this film, where the true horror in this film comes from, is that nobody believes her. Now, if you think about, rape culture in real life, it's mirroring that, where she's trying to go to people and saying, this is what's happening to me, and no one's listening to her because she's a woman, basically, and taking it for granted.
Is that the point of the movie, how it was written?
It's part of it. That's part of the subtext, for sure. Now, the only thing I could say that's kind of negative about this is Stan Winston. A lot of people who worked on Ghostbusters worked on this same studio around the same time. The end of the film kind of goes into a by the numbers sort of spectacle, a big climax, but it's made by those people and the effects. So if you like the effects in Ghostbusters, it looks on par here. It's very comparable. But like I said, the end, it kind of drops a little bit of that subtext, a lot of more psychological elements that I found interesting, but it's still a great film. And even though I'm saying psychological, when I say she's being accosted by ghosts, I mean, you're seeing it, and it's done very, like, she's great in it. I mean, she went all out for this movie.
So watch The Entity. That's our letter E.
Yes. All right. I got to let you take over for F.
All right.
Fly. Not that I don't love The Fly, but I know.
Okay.
I've been going on now.
So The Fly so far is probably the most noticeable, or I don't know, like, is when you think about all these movies we've shared so far, they're not necessarily classics. This one is maybe considered one of those in mainstream at least, and that's The Fly for letter F. It's a great horror movie. It's a great David Cronenberg movie. We talked about Videodrome and this, which one could be possibly better. This one has just got so much going for it, including the cast, the effects, the story itself. It's just very unsettling. There's still some sympathy that you feel for the characters involved, even through all the grossness that's happening. And I don't know, it's just a really great film and a really great horror movie for Halloween or for really any time. I think it takes material, even though, like you said before, it's not an original idea, but it takes material and really ratchets it up in a way that makes it fresh and just as unsettling as maybe it was when it came out originally to people that watched the original Fly.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's so relatable and human because of Goldblum. I think this premise is so goddamn weird, and we all know Goldblum is a bit eccentric. He sells it within this premise. And it's a great performance and a great film.
Yep, very sympathetic to him also. And so that's our letter F for Halloween. Check out The Fly if you haven't before. Jesus Christ. Letter G.
Letter G. Let's go a little bit more family friendly since nobody's going to be watching The Entity with their children.
No.
Gremlins 2. Arguably the best sequel ever made.
Of any movie.
Of any movie. Yes,
of
this
any
is
movie.
Easily in my top 5 sequels of all time. I would argue it may be better than the original, and I know that's an unpopular opinion. I love when I see a director get full carte blanche, final cut, puts his id up there, and at this point, Dante did not give two shits, and he turned it all into a Looney Tunes cartoon. He's parodied his original film because he knew there was nowhere artistically to go with it, and in doing that, he managed to make an artistic vision by having it be a statement on sequels. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Not
to mention, it's even satirizing Trump 30 years before we even knew how serious of a threat that moron was going to be. Great job, Dante. G is for Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2. And now we're moving on to H for Hellraiser, another one that's not really out of left field. There could be some other H films that people would throw in there if you were going to recommend to someone, but Hellraiser's always been one of my favorite horror, I don't want to say franchises because I didn't go past 2, and I've seen 3, and I've maybe seen 1 more, but 1 and 2 are where it's at, and this is just one of those classic horror films to me that gets like such it gets the tone right where it's not fun necessarily. It is something that is tough to watch at times. The effects are makes you squeamish a little bit. Just the idea of people's skin being completely peeled off and they're still there and they're talking, like just seeing all the musculature of someone and all these different Cenobites that come out and how creepy they appear, and just the whole idea of we're taking you to this realm where pain and pleasure are basically synonymous, and you're going to feel it's like just that sexual nature. Anytime that
Clive
kind of
Barker
stuff,
always has the S&M themes.
Like when you infuse
film.
that in, and I said that about Serbian film, when you infuse that kind of stuff into the horror, it just makes it so much more uncomfortable. Well, and that's what they do well. They do that so well in this movie.
Yeah, I'd say Cronenberg does body horror where Clive Barker fetishizes body horror.
I agree. Yeah, he definitely does. So Hellraiser, if that's not a movie you've seen, I know there's a new Hulu movie that's out, and they've had like 10 of these Hellraisers. The first Hellraiser, classic. The second one is an incredible sequel. It's a great 1-2 punch. That doesn't,
Hard stop there.
Yes, hard stop there. Don't go past 2. 2 is like, it picks up right where the first one left off, continues the story in an interesting way, and then you should probably stop at that point. But excellent for H, Hellraiser.
I is for a movie I know you and I both adore.
Yes.
Inside. The French film from 2009, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. 2009 or 7. One of those sounds right. I'm not sure which one.
Who knows?
Okay.
Do you want to? I'll go.
Go ahead.
So this is a pregnant woman trapped inside of her house being terrorized by intruders.
Yes.
Is that the easiest way to set it up?
Yeah, and it's a French extreme horror film. There was a bunch that kind of like came out around that time where they were really heavy into the gore and heavy into the violent of nature of whatever was going on. I feel like it definitely is that, but I would say that it never feels over the top to me.
It feels intense.
It feels very intense. It does feel like strangely realistic.
Yes. And one of the coolest final shots
Yes.
of any horror movie. I loved that setup, that angle, that
Yes.
look of the last shot of the movie before the credits roll. If you've seen it, you know what we're talking about.
Yes, I would recommend this to anyone that likes horror, likes to see something different, see something really visceral. Show this to someone you know that's pregnant. I've done that at least 3 times.
My wife
It works every time.
My wife refuses to watch it to this day. She knows
Okay.
the premise and
Yeah.
will not watch it.
Yes, good home invasion mixed with extreme horror. It's awesome. Check it out. Inside. Letter J, Russ. What a movie from
J.
you, which I don't know.
Jay is a modern film, just came out about a year ago, and I'm going to go with Jacob's Wife, starring Barbara Crampton, who I believe is going to make at least one other appearance on our list.
Okay.
This is a modern vampire film that is the point of view. The point of view is that of a woman in her late 40s, let's say, and she becomes a vampire. And in this tale, it's mirroring what it is like to be an older female in society with immortality versus immortality.
Okay.
Meaning she's only known as Jacob's wife. She doesn't have her own identity. She's sort of background. But when she becomes a vampire, she has this lust for life, and it reawakens something in her, like, this is what life should feel like. So she actually likes being a vampire, but she loves her husband too, and they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he's not a bad guy. He's just he was unknowingly just kind of keeping her down. You know what I mean? He was unknowingly repressing her. It works on both levels, very entertaining, and in my opinion, deeper than it had any right to be.
Sounds like a drama.
I know, it does, but
Way
it's
you
really not.
described it.
Honestly, you're going to watch, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about,
Yeah.
Russ? This is, but no, it is. I thought it was very well made, and it went under the radar a bit. I'd like to see more eyes on it.
All right. J, Jacob's Ladder. Coming in with K. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
You've seen this.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
I'm
I mean,
sure.
this
Who
is a
hasn't seen
blast
this?
of a movie.
It is.
Saw this
Have
when
you-
I was a kid,
I was about to
100
say,
times.
Would you show your son this?
I mean, I can't remember the finer details to know exactly what goes on, but
silly.
if it's what I remember, yeah, I would show this
it
to
is.
my kids, anybody.
It is. It's exactly what you remember.
the cotton candy cocoons.
Yeah, ridiculous clowns who drink blood out of cotton candy cocoons. And if that didn't sell you, I don't know what will.
The clown creations, all of them were really unique and fun and
yeah.
scary,
Dude,
but, but stupid at the same time.
My favorite one as a kid, I always laughed, was the goddamn shadow puppet on the wall, or the hand puppet.
Yeah.
And he
Eats them.
Come on.
Yeah,
dude.
it's great.
It's impossible to legitimately be scared by this film, but you will have so much fun with the Halloween and horror themed elements within.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, letter L, will you be scared by Last House on the Left?
You'll be unsettled. Disturbed, maybe walk out on it, namely due to one specific scene.
I haven't seen this movie.
Last House on the Left is one of the greatest grindhouse flicks of all time. The thing that makes it so effective, especially in the early 70s when it debuted, was the fact that it's so low budget. You don't know any of the actors that, all right, for the sake of the plot, 2 girls get caught up with this group of bad people. They get raped and murdered, and then in the woods. And when the killers leave, they end up taking shelter at a house where who lives there are the parents of the victim that they just murdered.
Gotcha.
And then it turns into a bit of a revenge thing once the parents realize who they're actually, helping
Harboring,
out
yeah.
here, harboring. Yes. it's just so low budget. It feels real. It just, especially back then, I'm sure if you were around, it just feels very real. Wes Craven is great. He always brings psychological elements. He always plays with the idea, is revenge justified? These sort of notions of, it's just what he does. Nightmare on Elm Street does it, like parents being the blame for, or I'm sorry, children being the blame for the parents' sins. He's brilliant. This movie is fucked up. And then what also makes it even more fucked up to me is the little interludes of the cops that almost have these comedic beats, which to me brings out the horror of everything else you're watching even more. Great slasher, or not slasher flick, but one of the greatest drive-in grindhouse flicks of all time.
Last House on the Left.
Yes.
Now, what about M for Maniac? I've also not seen this film before. I remember it from The Bust.
No, all right. Well, Maniac is literally the horror version of Mannequin in a way. All right. What? It's
excuse me?
It's my man. He has a thing for mannequins and he kills women. This is a skeezy film, very skeezy.
Very skeezy.
Tom Savini was involved. He has some great work in it. Man, just going cold.
Going cold.
Going
a lot
cold.
of first person.
You're either
killings.
gonna laugh.
I saw that in the Elijah Wood remake. They went heavy on the first person view of the killing.
That's not the first thing I think of, but
going cold.
Just going cold.
Going cold. Maniac.
Skeezy, you're either going to laugh or you're going to be disturbed, but either one of those emotions are a great thing to feel when watching a movie.
Okay.
Nightbreed.
Nightbreed for N. I watched this movie as a kid and was unsettled by this too. This was another one that was just a little too strange for me in a lot of different ways. And then as an adult, when I revisited this movie, it's not that it's a perfect movie, but it's got a lot of, I don't know, what do you call it? Like charm, style? Like, I don't know what it is. There's something fun about it in its twisted sensibilities, and Cronenberg makes an appearance as a serial killer, which is kind of cool.
He's the coolest thing in the movie.
He's pretty cool.
His character, I love that look and everything.
Craig Sheffer from Some Kind of Wonderful fame, who, he's the lead character. He stumbles upon or he gets called to like a graveyard that at nighttime, these spirits or this underground, whatever you call it, like they come out and they want him to join their ranks. They're the Nightbreed, and they're all a little different. Each one of them, there's like all these different creatures and monsters and things that are involved. And will he or will he not end up with them? Who knows? But it's a pretty cool film nonetheless. Nightbreed for N.
Nightbreed.
Now you put O on here for yourself. The Others. I wasn't sure. I didn't know that you were a fan of this movie. The Others.
Did we have any? I mean, we were. O is kind of a harder title.
I had a couple of other ones, but I like The Others too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of The Others. Okay. I think, again, it works. I'm a big fan of any film that can work, any horror film that can work as drama as well. And I think The Others works. You can even take out the horror elements. And if you're just watching a woman who, spoiler alert, well, let's just say a woman who misses her husband at war, that has to take care of kids and the burden of that. You could watch it as that too. But I really dig the twist.
Yeah.
We can give it away, can't we? She's dead.
I don't know, Russ. Can we?
Okay, we can't.
It's a recommendation. What if they never saw it? They don't want to go in knowing it.
That's true. This isn't The Sixth Sense. I'm kind of talking about it like everyone knows this. Yeah, cut that out. Listen, Nicole Kidman and her children are being haunted, and it's in Germany, isn't it? It takes place during World War II while her husband is off serving in the war. And there is a great twist, great performances. I've always been a Nicole Kidman fan, and she's fantastic in this.
Okay. The Others, yeah, I agree. I haven't seen this. I saw this in the theater, but I haven't seen it since, and I'd love to check it out again. So it is
great atmosphere.
It is great atmosphere
for a great haunted house story.
I agree.
And I think it got unfairly compared to Sixth Sense, where it is more of a haunted house story than it is I see dead people story.
I think it got brushed under the rug a little bit too. You're right. So that's O for The Others. Now we have Pet Sematary coming in for P. Another classic P. That's a great horror movie.
That is a great horror movie. One of my personal favorites. I can't objectively say that it's a great film. There are flaws within the film, but Mary Lambert did a great job. It is one of the only films that actually scared me as a kid.
Unsettled the shit out of me.
And you probably know exactly where I'm going with
Spina
this.
Bifida.
Zelda. You are absolutely right.
Man.
Funny story. I did not know until I was in my mid-20s that the character of Zelda was played by a man.
I didn't know that either.
And now it makes so much more sense. And I was watching features on it for one of the releases that came out over the years. And the director, I forget who was talking about it, but they said they did it because subtly you're watching it and something's off beyond the actual makeup and effects. You know something isn't quite right, but you can't put your finger on it, and that's part of it. Is that it's a man playing a woman in this.
Very unsettling. There's several scenes in that movie that I was unsettled by as a kid.
Dark material. Stephen King actually considered not putting out the book after he wrote it.
Yeah.
Because he thought this is too fucking much. Like about a child, a baby dying, getting run over by a truck.
Even how it ends. The wife comes back. The man's like, I'm just going to bury my wife.
Oh, God. And we can't. The Ramones. Come on. The Ramones.
Yeah,
which King did write into the book.
Yeah. And I don't know, in the remake, because there was a remake of this movie with John Lithgow and whatever else. Did they change the ending so where it's not such a like it's really like the ending itself is just such a
they did the cop out in the remake, and I'll spoil it because I want to spoil
the remake.
Fuck anyone who watches that remake. No, what they do in the end, it has no balls. It literally shows like Winston. It shows the cat. It shows like all the basically everyone you see died. Like they're trapped in a car at the end of it, and then the cat comes up and Gage and whoever. You know, it didn't have the balls to actually. They couldn't even keep the cat dead because that would offend people nowadays.
Yeah, this one definitely goes hard. This one definitely goes hard.
Hard. It damn near goes harder than it had to.
Yeah, they really. I
but
agree.
It's still fun. It still has that 80s horror feel to it, in my opinion.
That'd be a cool. Has this come out in 4K before?
I have a steelbook. I wonder if it's in 4K. I think it did when the remake came out.
Well, will you have fun with a movie called Q the Winged Serpent, which was a hard letter to come up with?
Matt, I'm having fun with the title already.
All right, tell me about Q the Winged Serpent, Russ.
Q the Winged Serpent is a story that takes place in New York City, and it's about a prehistoric dinosaur-like creature who is terrorizing the city.
End of story.
End of story. Kind of like what we spoke on in Fright Night and earlier in the podcast. It's the character actors, man. You got Richard Roundtree. You got David Carradine. You got my man, I forget his name right now, but any of you horror fans out there, called horror fans, know he was in The Stuff. He's my favorite character in this. He's just smarmy, kind of sarcastic, New York. I love the dude. But you'll keep your eyes glued. The effects are terrible.
I was going to say, how's the winged serpent look?
The effects are terrible. But that adds to it. It adds to it. It adds to it.
Yeah.
It makes it great. Like I said, then you got the great character acting. You got New York in the early 80s.
Yep.
Man, it's fun. It's a blast.
So people will have a good time with Q the Winged Serpent.
You will have fun with Q the Winged Serpent, even when the Winged Serpent is not on screen.
Okay. Hey.
And that is high praise.
That's high praise for Q the Winged Serpent. Now,
high praise.
What about this classic, which I keep saying this for us? I've never seen this movie. I've never seen Reanimator. Should I see it? This is our recommendation for our Tell the People Why, and tell me why I should see it, Russ.
Because this is a masterpiece. Reanimator is breezy. I want to say it's only like 80 minutes long. It is concise. Stuart Gordon was a great, rest in peace. He passed away not too long ago. Great filmmaker based on a classic story. God, you can't go wrong with this. Funny. Think Beetlejuice in terms of the horror comedy, but rated R and going for it. And again, it won't turn you off. It's not like Maniac or anything. If you are a cool parent, kids can watch it. There is some nudity and some violence, but I mean tonally, it has that Beetlejuice feel.
It's just a human body.
Oh God, yeah, dude, you'll love Dr. West, man, played by the great Jeffrey Combs, and he's so fun to watch. Great flick. Barbara Crampton. This is her second appearance on our list,
and you can't go wrong with Reanimator.
I know. I feel like I've said that about 30 fucking times.
You can't go wrong with any of these. See, this is why this segment is so great, because you can't go wrong with any of our recommendations. Sleepaway Camp for S, a movie that you just recently showed me, a movie that has its own, I don't know, like legend out there in the webs, in the cult classic arena.
Shit, horror in general. I think it's one of the greatest twist endings of all time.
You said that to me before we watched it. What do you think about it as a movie? And then then talk about the twist.
It's great.
Why should people watch this?
It's fun slasher. It's a camp slasher. I think it's more entertaining than any Friday the 13th movie.
I had a lot of fun.
Or any other camp film for that matter. I think that the twist, when you first watch it, let's say you've seen it just only one time, when you get that twist at the end of it, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, that's tacked on. That was just done for shock value. But when you rewatch it, especially in the beginning with the aunt character who started taking care of Angela and her brother, again, you notice it's alluding to things throughout the film where at first when you're watching it, you're just thinking it's a low budget, bad movie.
Yeah.
But when you really go back and watch it again, you're like, damn, this was actually put together pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Again, I keep going back to the character thing. Judy, who is basically the female bully to the main character in the film, is one of my favorite characters in any horror movie. Would you watch it again? What did you think?
would. I thought it was really fun. I like the camp slasher element. I saw you could easily see like the budget that they're working with, but I felt like everything that they tried to execute on, it worked.
It does.
Everything about it worked, and it was kind of fun. And I was shocked by the ending.
Yes, I was about to say.
I was taken back by it.
I have never shown a person this film without getting an audible reaction.
And I felt
there has never been anybody I've seen Sleepaway Camp with, if they've seen it for the first time, where they don't like, what? Wow! Like on the last scene of the movie, like every time there is a literal audible reaction. And that ending is so classic.
And I did exactly what you said, which was, what? Like, why? Like, I started to think, what is that for? And then, like, you know, you kind of piece it together and you're like, okay, this is just a story this guy wanted to tell. It's not that this was gratuitous. It's purposeful, but it just becomes like, do you agree with that ending or not? But it's not tacked on for shock value or anything else. I think it works with what you've done.
If you go back and watch it from the first scene of the movie, this was it. This is planned. Yeah. This was actually plotted out, and it's great.
So now we're going to T, and we're cheating a little bit because I've always just heard this called Demon Night, but we're going to call it Tales from the Crypt Demon Night.
On my shelf, it's in T.
It's in T. All right, so that's where it's going to go. Yeah. Again, another one I have not seen.
And
the legend Billy Zane.
I'm recommending this to you. I don't even care about the people watching. Dude, Ernest Dickerson directed this. It's Tales from the Crypt. This is the best Tales from the Crypt episode you have never seen extended into a feature.
Okay.
Billy Zane is chewing the scenery. You've got great actors. You got Thomas Hayden Church.
Love him.
You have William Sadler.
Love him.
Say what you will about Jada Pinkett, but she's great as the main character. We were talking about Brenda Bach. She's in this.
Oh.
Charles Fleischer is in this.
My favorite.
Dude, how many horror films do you have actors that you can actually name? You know what I mean?
Not Charles Fleischer.
Dude, everyone involved with the show is producers, you know, Zemeckis, Donner, all that. This movie starts right in the goddamn first frame and does not stop. It is a blast. I would put this is Evil Dead 2 level of fun and like, goddamn, keep going. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It is that. Oh my God. It is the perfect horror or Halloween film. I'm sorry. It is the perfect Halloween film.
And Shout or Scream put this out already, and they haven't done a 4K of it yet.
No, it is not a 4K yet, but I would definitely day one pre-order that one.
All right, Russ, you may have sold me. I love Tales from the Crypt, and I mean, I've always heard great things about this movie, but I have not.
But you like Ernest Dickerson too?
I do.
Think Juice, dude. Think the pacing.
I saw
of Juice.
I saw Bordello of Blood.
Oh God! And I like Bordello of Blood, but dude, it is not Bordello of Blood. Bordello of Blood is shit, but it's just bafflingly, like, I watch it going, what the fuck? Why is Dennis Miller in this damn thing? But no, dude, actually, you love Juice?
Yeah.
Think the last, like, the last 30 minutes of Juice is kind of like, boom, boom. This is what Demon Night is. It's just boom, 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 boom. And it's fun as hell.
Okay. Well, I hope he sold you at home because you sold me, Russ. I would love to check it out.
God, yeah.
I have to remember to watch this. But then we'll move on to you in the home stretch here, going to you with Under the Skin, which is not maybe your typical horror movie, but it does have a feeling of dread, a feeling of like what's kind of going on. You call it horror? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some kidnapping and some killing and that kind of stuff from a perspective of an alien that's come to Earth in the form of Scarlett Johansson in a very wild performance and a pretty wild movie in general. But I don't know, something about this movie I loved from the minute I watched it. It unsettled me. It made me, I don't know, like the music, the score that goes with it.
That music is incredible.
Yeah, just the visuals of it. It's very trippy. It's very bizarre and strange, but I thought it was great. The scene where they leave that baby on the beach crying and the parents are dead and she just like walks off and they just kind of show you that baby's just probably going to get washed away in the surf. Like just scenes like that where you're like, fuck, like there's just so many bizarre things that go on. But I would highly recommend this to anyone that wants to see something different, wants to try watching something that's a little bizarre and out there, but might become one of your favorites as well.
And one thing I love about Under the Skin is a lot of filmmakers, in my opinion, get this style wrong, where they just kind of do the kitchen sink approach with weirdness.
The A24 approach.
Yeah, Under the Skin is A24,
It is.
isn't it? But what I love about Under the Skin and what I think great directors like David Lynch can do is that Under the Skin gives you enough to where you don't feel cheated at the end of it, but you don't feel like you completely understand it, but you feel like you watched a narrative.
Yes.
You feel like it made visual sense, it made contextual sense within you watching. You just don't really get all the answers, and that's great.
Yep.
You know, that's a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of especially modern directors have trouble pulling that off.
I feel the same way, and I think low key there's a point to the movie too. Low key there's a point to the narrative as well, even though it's a little strange.
But that's what I'm saying. Even if you miss it or whatever, like you can still watch it and gather enough to enjoy it.
Yep, definitely. So great film, Under the Skin. Letter U. Letter V coming in hot is Videodrome. I had the pleasure of seeing this movie recently when we covered it the first time. I hadn't seen it. I'd love to really share and keep my full thoughts for when we do a movie review of this when it comes out later in the month. But I will say it was incredible. I loved every minute of it. I have so many thoughts that I want to share just about like the look of the film, the message of the film, some things that I just kind of like couldn't stop thinking about once it was over. James Woods, awesome performance. It's like when we talked about The Fly versus Videodrome, which one's a little bit better? I said The Fly's like top 40 and Videodrome's like punk rock. It's like you're going to get more of The Fly in the mainstream, but if you're someone that's looking for the off-kilter stuff or like the like that kind of feel, like Videodrome is definitely not mainstream, but it's still super effective and super fun and does a great job with all the effects and the body horror. It's just awesome. It was incredible.
I like that compare. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, I think it works, right? It feels punk rock to me.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Hey, man, Debbie Harry, that's punk scene.
Yeah.
She came from that. W is for Wishmaster. Were we spinning our wheels with W? Are you a big Wishmaster fan?
I was surprised when I saw you put it on there because I thought I wasn't sure. I thought you had made fun of it in the past. So tell me, I've never seen Wishmaster.
I've never made fun of Wishmaster. I may even go, you know what? Let's make it Wishmaster 2.
Okay, Wishmaster 2.
Even Wishmaster 2, it's fun. This is the 90s. The 90s get a bad rap for horror, in my opinion. And it was kind of a weak decade when you compare it to the 80s and 70s. Wishmaster at least was trying to keep the slasher genre alive, the sort of Freddy's, Chucky's, Jason's, Halloween's. I don't think Wishmaster is on that level, but it's the closest thing from the 90s. And I think it has a sense of humor. I love the cameos in both 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Stay away from 3 because that's when they recast the lead dude, and that's always a kiss of death in horror franchises. But, I love seeing Tony Todd in this. I love seeing Robert Englund in this. I love how they know it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a horror version of Aladdin.
I was gonna say, what's the it's like, you have Freddy and Michael Myers and all these different people. This is the Wishmaster, and even we talked about genie. Even we talked about Brain Scan, and you were like, okay, they were really trying to make a horror like person, like they're trying to push this Wishmaster genie kind of thing. Does it work? Is it dumb? Like what?
And I love Brain Scan to death. That's a 10 out of 10 personal movie for me. But yeah, I mean, they kind of even failed in Brain Scan.
Yeah,
trying to make a new horror icon. An icon, yes. Yeah.
But now here you have Wishmaster.
Yes. And like I said, no one's going to confuse Wishmaster as
high
the
art
pinnacle of, yes. But it's fun, man. And like I said, for the 90s, it's in my opinion, it's probably at the top for the 90s. It's probably in the top 10 for the 90s.
Check it out, Wishmaster.
Yes.
Now, X I've never even heard of, Russ. Xtro. Tell me all about it.
Dude, it's just a weird ass alien movie, and this is the letter X. What the fuck are we gonna do? I do like
X-Files.
I do own
the
it.
movie.
Nah, I'd rather watch Xtro, honestly. No offense to the X-Files, but it's just an 80s alien. It's almost like...
I think I can picture the cover now that you said it. There's like a weird orange alien over on it or something, like a monster face. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically someone in the 80s watched E.T. and was like, let's do that as a horror film.
Let's make it horror instead.
And we're going to have a $7 budget. It's good though. It's good.
Hey.
I can wholeheartedly recommend it, but no, it's not as strong as everything else on this list because we were dealing with the letter X.
That is tough. But, so your mileage may vary on Xtro, but if you're trying to do A through Z, check out Xtro. Why? You're next.
Why not?
You're next. Why?
This movie was clever. This one caught me. I skipped it when it came out. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch it. It was recommended to me. And who sold it to me, they said, think like it's more of a modern Scream. It's parodying the stuff while being faithful to it. and executing it in that style. Man, I had much more fun than I was expecting. So much more fun than I was expecting with this. I like the home invasion element. I like how the main character is presented as almost meek in the beginning, but then you learn like, oh no shit, she had like a hard background. She's actually a warrior.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I thought that was a little different because a lot of times they'll do this in movies where you're sitting there watching the characters and you're like, this person who grew up in the suburbs, where are they learning to fight and all this all of a sudden? Where now they kind of just explained it like, nah, she's badass. Yeah. And the gore is fun. The setup's fun. The masks are fun. Everything. It's a fun movie, man.
Yeah.
It's like The Strangers, only you're having a great goddamn time with it.
Yeah, it's true. And these guys, like you said, they take this genre and they have fun with it. They went on and did The Guest, and I feel like it's everything you just said about this movie is like The Guest. They take
in
that
a different genre.
In a different genre. Yeah, they take that genre and they have fun with it. You're having fun with it, with the characters and with what's going on. And yeah, I saw Your Next as well, and I thought the same thing. It was kind of a clever, fun little home invasion thing. You're not terrified like The Strangers. You're right. You're kind of having fun like it's a slasher film.
Yeah. You feel like the lead has equal stakes as the villains. Like you feel like they're on equal footing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they could take her out or she could take, like, it doesn't feel like they're stalking her. It always just feels like they're fighting each other. You know what I mean?
No.
And that is our third appearance of Barbara Crampton, who is the unofficial queen of our horror A to Z list this year.
Love you, Barbara. Rest in peace to Barbara. She's still with us.
Alive, dude.
Thank you, Barbara. I apologize. I wasn't sure if you were alive or dead. But that brings us to Z, which, again, is a kind of a hard one. And, again, this is a movie that I've seen the cover to my whole life. It's so, I can see it. And you just say the movie Zombie. It's like, oh, I can just picture that zombie on that cover. Tell me about this movie. Tell the fans at home why they should watch Zombie this Halloween.
If you are like Matt and you have that image burned in your head of that cover, you're getting that. You are getting that, and it's one of the coolest scenes where like these zombies are rising up out of the grave, and Fulci, oh god, he takes his time with this stuff. That's what I love it. Like, dude, it's so creepy, that image. It's so great. The makeup's so great, and they're just slowly rising. And this is like 5 fucking minutes of seeing like this awesome makeup stuff. It's shot beautifully. Dude, Fulci is incredible with just lingering on things on gore that no one else would linger on, or on man, it's awesome.
What's the general premise of this movie?
Who cares? I will tell you this.
Is it like modern day? Is it zombies are taking over a town? Is it like what's happening in this movie?
Every other thing, dude. Yeah, zombies are taking over. Normal thing. And honestly, just like a lot of even Fulci himself, some of the shit is nonsensical at points.
Gotcha.
Because who cares? We're having fun. Dude, this is a movie you will literally get a scene where they film a zombie attacking a shark in the ocean.
Wow.
Underwater. And they shot this shit. For real. And they didn't have any budget with a real shark and just some stuntman dude in this zombie stuff. And you're watching this movie like, dude, this guy can fucking die at
any moment.
Any minute. They're not doing it like, it's
that's
fun.
the kind of movies that show up on our A to Z list.
Nah, zombies are great. And if you've never seen any film by Fulci, definitely start there.
Starting there.
It's his Pulp Fiction. It's his Do the Right Thing. Man.
Wow.
Visually, one of the coolest movies ever made.
Okay. Well, we did it. A through Z. Number and then A through Z. Our A through Z recommendations of the week. I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed hearing not just 1 or 2 recommendations from us, but damn near 26 of them, and maybe some other ones that we talked about as well. And I think that's everything we got for this week. That was a big one.
That was
a big one.
I can't wait to watch Don't Tell Mommy.
Don't Tell Mommy. So thanks to everybody for watching, for listening, for coming back, subscribing, liking, everything that you're doing to support. Please come and visit with us and leave us some comments on our page, on our videos. We love interacting with everyone. We love hearing your suggestions as well. Let us know about the movies that you bought this week. Let us know about some of the titles that you're going to watch this Halloween. These are going to be some of our favorites, and will we be back shortly with some more Blu News and reviews. Thank you so much.
Thank you.